Chapter 923. Jiang Yage first refilled his cup with water, then continued to sit opposite him thoughtfully, not saying a word for a long time. Look at you. Don't hide it. Don't you think I don't know you? You're a person who can't hide things in your heart. You're the same as Lin Jingwei. You're also here to persuade me, right? Alas, you still saw through me. Chen Guang said angrily, it's almost written on your face. Jiang Yage covered her face in a panic. Ah. Did I behave so badly? I can't even hide this little thing. Fortunately, I haven't been filming recently. Otherwise, Big Beard would really be angry to death. Alright. Since we're talking, say what you want to say in one breath. Don't worry about me. I may not listen to you even if you say it, right? Jiang Yage poked his shoulder shyly with her finger. You're so annoying. Chen Guang felt goosebumps all over his body. At this moment, he was reminded of Jiang Yage, who had tormented him with all sorts of tricks in the past. Actually, I'm the same as you. I hate Uncle Chao so much that I can't wait to find trouble with him. Chen Guang interrupted her. Just say what you want to say next. We're on the same side. Don't beat around the bush. Jiang Yage was choked by him again. She was embarrassed and angry. She rushed up and hit his shoulder with both hands. Chen Guang knew that she was depressed, so he pretended to struggle. In fact, he didn't really resist and let her hit him. He let her vent a little. It wouldn't hurt anyway. After the two of them had a good fight, Jiang Yage got up with a red face and tidied up her messy clothes. She felt a lot more relaxed after this. Seriously, you can get up now. Chen Guang lay on the sofa sideways. It turned out that Jiang Yage had unknowingly sat on his lap. Unexpectedly, not only did she refuse to get up, she mischievously shook her butt. I'm not getting up. I don't want you to be angry with me. I remember you promised me before, right? Didn't you promise me a few things in the toilet of the Yin Noa Club in Beijing? Chen Guang smiled bitterly and nodded. Yes, what I said at the time was that as long as it doesn't violate my principles, everything is fine. Then I'll mention it today. My request today is that you don't get angry with me. Chen Guang felt the strange touch when his thighs touched her buttocks, and his brain began to soften bit by bit. Sure, no problem. That's good. First of all, Grandpa and the rest didn't mean to make you unhappy. The reason why they want you to step down from the position of the director of the Guangdong General Administration is that you are young and impulsive sometimes. The situation now is different from before. The general administration will definitely have to be restructured, and there will be a lot of changes to the responsibilities and power you will bear in the future. You are a little lazy, so they think you should practice for a period of time and wait for the right time to take on such a big responsibility in the future. After listening, Chen Guang wasn't in a hurry to express his opinion. Did they teach you to say all this? Jiang Yage nodded. Yes. You know I'm not interested in these things. You are so silly. Why? Their beautiful words sound nice, but in reality, to put it bluntly, isn't it because I am different from Lin Jingwei and even Chao Jingming? I am not a second or third generation, and I am not one of their own. It's not that I have any opinions about Lin Jingwei and the rest, but no one can deny that if it wasn't me, but Lin Jingwei or Bai Hua, or even Shui Lin, who they want to push up, they would not have such thoughts. This kind of words can be used to deceive children, but it doesn't mean anything to me. Chen Guang paused and said, in the past, I didn't want to do it, but at that time, they had a favor to ask of me and when, so they forced me to sit here and forced me to do it. Okay, no problem. Because the situation required it, I also coveted the benefits, so I sat here. In such a long period of time, I have been ambushed and assassinated more than once or twice. Did I really not encounter any danger? Not necessarily, but I braced myself and endured it, and I survived. Jiang Yage listened to his words and felt more and more uncomfortable. She tightly pursed her lips and said, I am sorry. What do you have to be sorry for? I am speaking for my grandfather and the rest. No, no, no. You can't represent them, and you have no obligation. Now that Ouyang Tianqing is dead, the crisis is over, and I haven't even asked for any benefits, but they want me to leave and give me a job to retire. Although I really hope so, these words can't come out of their mouths. I can only ask for it myself. I am only 21 years old this year. How can they take the initiative to let me retire? They are simply toying with me. Don't they see that Wenwen and I are different from Ouyang Tianqing? We are upright, have good personalities, and don't have Ouyang Tianqing's cunning and evil intentions. This is really a case of a kind person getting bullied, and a kind horse getting ridden. Jiang Yage saw that he was getting angrier as he spoke and quickly persuaded him, don't be like this. Then I won't talk about this anymore. Just pretend I didn't mention it. As long as you don't agree, no one can let you go. Chen Guang smiled and said rather domineeringly, of course. Then I will continue talking about Chao Jingming. Grandfather and the rest do want me to be the peacemaker. They want me to tell you that I don't mind. They think you are standing up for me, right? If it was the normal Chen Guang, he would definitely smile and say that it was true. But now, Chen Guang was not normal. He only smiled indifferently and said, this is indeed part of the reason, but only part of it. Yes, I admit that even if there was no news of Chao Jingming, I would have gone to Ninghai province. He really didn't have too much direct influence on the matter, but he interfered with my judgment. You all saw that I was invincible at that time, but only I knew how dangerous the situation was when I was held hostage. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was a narrow escape from death. If it wasn't for that ambush, if it wasn't for Long Dingtian drugging sect leader Xian and sect leader Wu in advance, they wouldn't have been so powerless to fight back and be slaughtered. I am partly responsible for the death of the two seniors. Long Dingtian and Six Sword Sect's Zhuge Ling are also responsible. Ghost Shadow, who forced them to die on the spot, is also partly responsible. Indirectly, Chao Jingming, who interfered with my judgment and made me doubt Long Dingtian but was eventually dispelled, is also partly responsible. I have done some things to offset my own mistakes. Long Dingtian, Zhuge Ling, and Ghost Shadow have been killed by me. Then, only Chao Jingming is left. In addition, he didn't succeed in trying to harm me this time. But the hatred between people is not so simple. Even if he was the one who provoked me, it's not something that I can let go of. He will still be afraid of my revenge, and he will continue to spy on me in the dark. Once I relinquish power, or when I reveal a flaw in the future, he will definitely continue to strike first without hesitation to prevent himself from having more problems. This grudge has already been formed, and it's like a crack on a glass. There's no possibility of it healing completely. This may seem like a small matter, but it's a situation that will not rest until one side is dead. You didn't see it clearly enough, and the elders are too optimistic. Of course, I won't close my eyes and wait for death. Rather than being coveted by others and putting myself, family, and friends in danger, I might as well strike first and eliminate the root of the problem to prevent future troubles. Jiang Yage's mouth opened wider and wider. Is it really that serious? Chen Guang nodded. That's right. From what I see, it is that serious. He had seen too many cases of life and death battles in the land of true martial. Right now, he was still in the state of a Saint Emperor, and a Saint Emperor's outlook on life was indeed this straightforward. At the end of the day, it all boils down to the fact that I've never been on the same side as the elders and Chao Jingming. Do you understand? Otherwise, Chao Jingming wouldn't have wanted to deal with me in the first place. Jiang Yage was completely convinced by Chen Guang. From a personal point of view, she even wanted to personally help Chen Guang deal with Chao Jingming. However, she couldn't do that, so she was at a loss for a moment. But I still don't want you and Grandpa to fight to that point. Your forcefulness will put you in a very dangerous situation. Even if Chao Jingming pays the price this time, in the future. Sigh, is there really no way to resolve the grudge? No. There's no turning back. You know that I don't actually want to speak up for Chao Jingming. I'm worried about you, Chen Guang interrupted her. Alright, stop talking. Where's the fearless Jiang Yage that I used to know? There's nothing to be afraid of in one's life. Weren't you bolder than me in the past? This time, you don't have to worry. There's absolutely no one in this world that can touch me. Even if your grandfather and I fight tit for tat, they won't be able to hurt me. You don't have to worry too much. For the sake of you and Lin Jingwei, I won't be too extreme. I just want an explanation after all. Chen Guang used to stand at the peak of power in the land of Jinwu. On the opposite side of him, the elders in Yanjing also stood at the peak of power in this era. On the surface, there seemed to be a huge difference in status between the two, but in Chen Guang's heart, there was no difference at all. I'm the same as you. We represent different peaks. You're at the peak of power in the secular world, while I'm at the peak of personal strength. Jiang Yage looked at him with a bitter face. She was in an indescribable dilemma. She also thought that Chao Jingming should pay the price, but her grandfather had already said that on the phone. She didn't want to see Chen Guang fall out with them. She couldn't help but regret. If she had known that this would happen, she wouldn't have come to Wujing early in the morning. She wouldn't have answered her grandfather's phone call. Why did she have to suffer in this crevice? On the other side, Chen Guang was a little hesitant. He wanted to leave directly, but when he saw the big bed in the bedroom opposite the living room, he couldn't move his feet. Forget it. I'm already here anyway. If I drive away in this state, it'll be a standard super tired driving. That's right. As a law-abiding veteran driver, how could he drive while tired? Hey, if there's nothing else, I'm going to sleep first. I haven't slept for almost 50 hours. Standing up, Chen Guang strode towards the bedroom with the ham. Even if the sky falls down, even if the world ends, don't think about stopping me from sleeping. Chapter 924. Jiang Yage looked at his back, her heart still heavy. Her eyes gradually dimmed. She couldn't think of any solution. Her phone rang. She looked down and saw that it was a text message from her grandfather. We had another afternoon meeting and even asked Xiao Chao in the conference room. He really didn't admit that he had done it. We don't have any evidence now, so we can't do anything to him. Chen Guang might be friends with you guys, but he still lacks a foundation. Even if your grandpa and I speak up for him, it's still not enough for him to have a good relationship with little Shua and little Wu. Although old Lin's grandson is also loyal to him, he has no interest in politics, and he can't control his uncle's affairs. So no matter what, he had to think of another way to get Chen Guang to behave himself. After all, Chen Guang should give him some face, right? This is for his own good. It's all up to you. Chen Guang is not one of us after all. Sigh. Jiang Yage read the text message and felt very upset. His words sounded nice, but it wasn't clear that he was implying that Chen Guang wasn't on their side. The words "one of us" seemed simple, but it had a deep meaning. It was a little strange. It didn't sound like her grandfather's tone. At this time, Jiang Yage didn't know that in Yanjing, thousands of kilometers away, old Jiang was quarreling with someone at a meeting. He was so angry that he threw his mobile phone on the ground in the conference room, turned around, and left. Old man Jean followed him out of the conference room to persuade him. On the other side, old Lin asked someone to pick up old Jiang's phone. The quality of this special supply phone was really amazing. It made a hole in the wooden floor, but it didn't break. Old Lin rolled his eyes and quietly pulled Secretary Chu over, telling him to send a message to Jiang Yage. Secretary Chu felt bitter. If old Jiang knew about this, wouldn't he fight with him? But he had no choice. He couldn't let his old leader take the blame, could he? Therefore, he quietly sent the text message to old Jiang, and then quickly deleted it, lest old Jiang saw it immediately. The entire message was written by Secretary Chu. Every word and sentence was full of traps. He was trying to lead Jiang Yage into a trap. After reading it, on one hand, Jiang Yage felt indignant, but on the other hand, her mind was filled with the last word of the message. They were on the same side. She clenched her teeth harder and harder. Was the word "one of us" that important? But she quickly recalled that ever since she was a child, her career had been smooth sailing since her debut because of her identity as one of them. There had never been any scandals in public opinion. Whether it was releasing records, singing at galas, taking on commercials, going on variety shows, or even shooting movies, she had indeed occupied all kinds of high-quality resources in the entire entertainment industry that ordinary artists could not compare to. She and sister Shirue could easily become superstars in the country at the age of 20. In addition to the fact that they debuted as child stars, were extremely talented in both singing and acting, and worked hard enough, the real decisive factor was the unparalleled tilt of resources brought about by the word "one of us." There were more than 1 billion people in the country, and there were tens of millions of hardworking and talented people. Some people could make it early, some people quit halfway, and some people were stuck in a quagmire. In order to get ahead, they would do anything, such as hyping up, keeping a mistress, hugging someone's thigh, becoming famous, or even not becoming famous at all. The world had always been unfair. In the past, Jiang Yage had never been willing to consider these problems. Until today, when it was suddenly pointed out, she suddenly came to a realization. That's right, the word "one of us" was really that important. In that case, didn't you mind that Chen Guang was not one of us? Didn't he have no identity and no background? But I did. This determination and thought gradually surged from the depths of her heart, and then became more and more intense, quickly engulfing her entire mind. An extremely strong and indescribable impulse burned in her heart, becoming more and more intense. In fact, ever since she met Chen Guang for the first time, Jiang Yage had always been more proactive than anyone else. But in the past, because of many coincidences, she was always the one who shaved her hair, and Chen Guang was always particularly resistant. Furthermore, although she had that thought, she could never make up her mind. But this time, it was different. She found a reason for herself to be especially decisive. That's right, I want to give him the identity of one of us. Sister Shirue, I'm sorry. We agreed on a fair competition. I didn't want to do this, but the situation forced me, and I had no other choice. Jiang Yage persuaded herself like this in her heart. She quickly emptied this thought. She clenched her fists, thinking, so what if I beat him to it? I just want to do what's done, and make him my man. Didn't you guys despise him for not having an identity? Then if he becomes my man, wouldn't he be the most authentic son-in-law? At that time, who can still say that he has no identity? Who can still say that he is not one of us? Maybe it's a little unfair to Sister Shirue, but she will definitely be able to understand my difficulties. Taking a deep breath, Jiang Yage got up and walked quickly to the bedroom. On the other side, Chen Guang was also too lazy to take off his clothes. He simply threw himself on the bed, rolled over, and prepared to sleep. He didn't even think of closing the door. This was a guest room in the villa anyway, and Jiang Yage wasn't sleeping on this bed, so she didn't have to be so particular. Jiang Yage took 2 steps out, but then stopped. She recalled that it wasn't that she didn't have such thoughts in the past. Even when she blocked him in the bathroom of the Yi Nuo Club, she had the impulse to do it on the spot in that place. Unfortunately, in the end, she still felt that it was inappropriate. She didn't want her first time to be lost in such a small environment. At that time, Chen Guang also didn't cooperate enough, and in the end, nothing really happened. Now that so much time had passed, he had recently become more overbearing than before, and his personality seemed to be different. But she didn't know if his view of her had changed, and if he would be rebuffed again. That would be so embarrassing. Can I use the matter of him pretending to be Qin Yu to force him to give in? Or should I just take off my clothes and jump up to force myself on him? He won't resist, right? What if I get kicked away by him? This guy has a criminal record, so it's not impossible. Or should I try to dress sexier first, quietly test his reaction, and then slowly stir up the atmosphere? Countless thoughts turned in Jiang Yage's mind in an instant, but she didn't think that the one who would suffer the most in this kind of matter was actually herself. There were thousands of people in the world, and everyone had different personalities because of their life experiences and innate genes. This was Jiang Yage's personality. Although she had never been in love, because of her identity as an actress, she had experienced too many selfless feelings in the play. At the same time, because of her special identity and background, she didn't need to be trained in the big vat of the entertainment industry like ordinary artists and stars. Her understanding of feelings was both complex and simple. She didn't care whether she was at a disadvantage at all. She just thought that since she liked this person, why couldn't she do something with him? As for how far in the future, she cared about it, but also didn't care so much. If she didn't fight for it vigorously, she would always be afraid, and in the end, she would only be left with regrets when she was old. Everyone had to experience the vigorous feeling of a moth flying into a flame once in their lives. In Jiang Yage's eyes, she liked him so much that she didn't even want to eat or drink for him. If he took the initiative to ask her to do something, she wouldn't have the courage to reject him. The current situation was that even though he still didn't mention it, she had already found the most resolute reason for herself. She clenched her fists tightly again. So today, I can only succeed, not fail. Lying quietly on the warm blanket, Lord Guang felt so comfortable that he felt as though he was about to ascend to heaven. He had never thought that sleeping could be such a comfortable thing. Simply lying down like this, emptying his mind, not thinking about anything, and the feeling of not caring about anything, actually made his brain feel numb, as though he was floating in the clouds. It really felt too good. Chen Guang's eyelids rapidly grew heavier, and his eyes closed closer and closer. He could finally have a good sleep. He simply wanted to close his eyes like this and never open them again. At this moment, a faint call seemed to come from the distant horizon, forcibly pulling his originally deep asleep mind back a little. Chen Guang thought to himself, "Don't tell me I'm dreaming so soon." He slightly gathered his scattered consciousness and listened again. That voice was still ringing. It sounded like someone was calling his name. The voice sounded ethereal and distant, extremely pleasing to the ear, as though it was a professional singer singing. "Chen Guang, are you already asleep? Chen Guang, wake up. I have something to talk to you about. I don't know what's wrong with me recently, but I keep dreaming. Strange dreams. Maybe I'm overly sensitive. I heard that this might be a sign of depression. Recently, there have been a lot of people in our entertainment circle suffering from depression. I'm a little scared. Chen Guang, sleep later. I heard that there are Qigong masters who can use Qigong to massage people to relieve stress. You're a martial arts expert now, so you should be able to do it, right? Chen Guang, wake up. Poor Master Guang, forcibly pulled back from his almost asleep state by Jiang Yage's ethereal voice. He opened his eyes in extreme pain and looked up slightly, only to see Jiang Yage in translucent chiffon pajamas looking at him with a flushed face, not knowing whether it was anticipation or nervousness. What the hell is this? Am I having a nightmare? No, this should be an erotic dream. Although he had long seen her in photos or videos on his phone on a larger scale, and had even seen her up close and touched her with his own hands, sometimes wearing clothes was more alluring than not wearing anything at all. Right now, Jiang Yage was the perfect embodiment of this logic. Chapter 925. She was so beautiful now. The evening sun shone on her body through the misty curtains, forming a hazy outline around her. Her infinitely graceful figure was faintly discernible in the chiffon nightgown. Chen Guang could even see her slender waist. He could even see her naughty belly button through the nightgown. As for the more private parts of her body, there was no need to say much. If Chen Guang wasn't too sleepy and still immersed in the state of Zhenwu Holy Emperor, he would probably be enchanted by Jiang Yage. Jiang Yage's hand was pressed on Chen Guang's shoulder. He couldn't tell if his body was swaying, or if his head was dizzy, or if she was shaking him with her hand. However, Chen Guang didn't feel like he was enjoying it at all. He knew that Jiang Yage was seducing him. He also knew that if he was normal, his mouth would be wide open and his nose would start to bleed. He would also be roaring in his heart. But now, he only had one emotion left, and that was anger. Anger for no reason. Can't you just stop for a while? I just want to sleep. Why is it so difficult? He sat up abruptly, turned his head, and squinted at Jiang Yage fiercely. It had only been a few minutes of half-sleep, but his eyes were already bloodshot and looked red. Jiang Yage was scared by his gaze. She didn't understand the situation. What was going on? Although this guy was awkward in the past, he wasn't angry. No, he wasn't angry in the past. In fact, sometimes he enjoyed taking advantage of me. But what's going on today? What's wrong with you? Jiang Yage asked carefully. She looked pitiful. She even stuck out her chest as she spoke. Her posture was clearly saying, "Can't you see what I'm wearing? Aren't you tempted at all?" Chen Guang wasn't blind, so of course he could see it clearly. The two red spots in her translucent chiffon nightdress became even more conspicuous with her small movements. His rationality told him that this was Jiang Yage's super benefit. His body should completely follow its instincts and make the most realistic response. However, he couldn't control his emotions at all. At this moment, he was just like when he entered the Tao of the painting volume with Jade Dumpling. He clearly wanted to be righteous, but he just had to eat Lu Fei. Right now, he clearly felt that he should be hot-blooded, but he just couldn't control his anger. There was nothing he could do. I say, what are you trying to do? Chen Guang suppressed his emotions. What was left of his rationality told him that he could not lose his temper at Jiang Yage. Jiang Yage rubbed her hands and squeezed her chest. Her acting skills were on full display. She looked at Chen Guang seductively. Didn't I say it just now? I worry that I have depression. This time, Chen Guang heard it clearly, and he was shocked. That can't be, right? Are you so fragile? Although he didn't pay much attention to the entertainment news, depression had been getting more and more attention in the past few years, especially in the circle of celebrities and artists. It was not impossible for Jiang Yage to be suffering from depression. However, he didn't believe it. She was usually carefree and showed no signs of depression. How could she be depressed just because she said so? No, these few days. Could it be because her life was too smooth in the past, and too many things happened in the past 2 days, so she was a little too mentally stimulated? It seemed very reasonable for this kind of thing to happen to a spoiled rich girl. Depression was a psychological illness. People who hid it well could hardly see it, but in fact, the consequences were very serious. Seeing that he was not angry anymore, Jiang Yage was a little relieved. She rubbed her fists. I'm just a little worried. I'm not depressed. Then what on earth do you want to do now? Look, can you give me a massage? Use your internal force. Qigong. As Jiang Yage spoke, she moved closer to him, and her breath smelled like orchids. Hearing those words, Chen Guang's lips twitched. He finally understood everything this time. What damn depression. That's just a cover. She clearly wanted to eat me. On the other side, Jiang Yage was already lying on the bed like a boneless earthworm. She twisted her body and pretended to rub her head. I really feel a little uncomfortable. Help me quickly. Chen Guang cast a glance at Su Tao before he figured out that Su Tao was still putting on an act in front of him. You don't even wear underwear. The moral degeneration of the world is getting worse, and people are not what they used to be. Stupid mortal, do you know what you are doing? Ignorant little girl. How dare you use your body to seduce me? Do you really think the old man is afraid of you? You are challenging the dignity of the true martial saint emperor. You are seeking death in front of the strongest pile driver in history. Do you really think the old man doesn't dare to do anything to you? You don't even know how much I want to sleep peacefully right now. Jiang Yage tilted her head and peeked at him. Seeing that his gaze was on her bottom under her thin nightdress, she was both embarrassed and happy. Success, it's going to be success. Although I've never eaten pork before, I've seen quite a few pigs running. The movies I watched in the past weren't for naught. In the end, Chen Guang is still a hot-blooded lad, so how can he resist my charm? I will add more fuel to the fire. Jiang Yage simply continued to raise her bottom, and slightly twisted her body. This time, her actions were even more excessive, and her bottom was facing Chen Guang. Poor Lord Guang, he really didn't know how to describe his current state. 1/3 of his rational mind wanted to sleep, 1/3 wanted to fight, and 1/3 was angry. Most of the organs in his body also wanted to sleep, but a small part of his body was exceptionally responsive. It was as if he had a split personality. The true martial saint emperor's personality was dominant, but his original self was stubbornly living on. Jiang Yage didn't know how terrible of a thing she was doing. She continued to display her superb acting and shoddy seduction skills. She even turned around and used her hands to push Chen Guang away, and then hugged him tightly. All right, I won't find any excuses. That's right, I am seducing you. You can't accept it. Don't forget that you promised me before. As long as I help you keep your secret, you will promise me a few things. Now is the time. My request now is that you are not allowed to reject my seduction. She blushed and stared straight at Chen Guang. This was really a big circle. Chen Guang's breathing became heavier. You, really, don't disturb my sleep. Damn it, this is too damn it. Can't you change the time? Why do you insist on not letting me sleep? What hasn't this saint emperor seen before? Just because of that broken virgin power, the old man has been confined in Jinwu land for hundreds of thousands of years, okay? It was only when I reached the martial saint realm that I finally fused the broken virgin power into my own Jinwu divine power and was finally freed, okay? Although I fought with Wenwen for 300 rounds after I came out, it wasn't enough to quench my thirst. In the past, because of your identity as a celebrity and because of your background, I didn't particularly like you and kept a respectful distance from you. But now is different. If I sleep with you, what's wrong with that? You have already challenged my dignity, so how can the old man be afraid? He suddenly got up and pushed her onto the quilt. His power burst out, and his clothes burst open. Jiang Ye's eyes became brighter and brighter. I finally succeeded. This slow guy. Come on. Ruthlessly ravage me. An earth-shattering battle was about to break out at any moment. Ouch. It hurts. The battle only lasted for 5 seconds before someone's eyes rolled back and he fainted. Before she fainted, her mind was in a daze. This is different from what I saw in the movies. Didn't they say that there was no land that was damaged by plowing, only cows that died of exhaustion? Why did I suddenly go to heaven? Looking at the twitching Jiang Ye on the bed, then looking at the pool of blood on the quilt, Chen Guang loosened his hands and felt a little like a Spartan. The drowsiness in his mind dissipated, and he was a little stiff. Sigh, oh my God. Something big happened. Why did I eat her just like that? No, what am I afraid of? She was the one who provoked the old man first. She was the one who seduced the old man. The old man just wanted to take care of her as soon as possible so that he could sleep, okay? Just to sleep, and he did it on the spot. That seems a little too much. Too much, my ass. In this world, who dares to say anything wrong about me? I am the dignified true martial holy emperor. I am free and easy. If I do it, I do it. If the sky falls, I will hold it up with my fist. A man should look up to the heavens and earth, so why should he be afraid of the slightest thing? But now, she had completely fainted, and I had just started working. Chen Guang hesitated for 30 seconds in extreme pain. In the end, he didn't want to torture Jiang Ye any longer. The true martial holy emperor also had to be protective of the fairer sex. He still had to treat a woman who was good to him better. Chen Guang first checked Jiang Ye's condition. He was sure that she fainted because she was too exhausted and her brain was temporarily stimulated too much. In fact, she had just entered a deep sleep. He was relieved. She was a little swollen, but it was not an injury. She should recover after some rest. She fainted really quickly. Her body's self-protection mechanism reacted too quickly. Sigh, fortunately, I have the Kirin arm. I will rely on myself. As the owner of the strongest spear, if he didn't have the strongest shield, he really didn't know how to live. Perhaps, Chen Guang was the most pitiful superstar boyfriend in the world. She was clearly lying there naked, but there was nothing he could do. She was swollen. He was swollen too, but the concept of swollen was different. Chen Guang grabbed one of Jiang Ye's legs and pulled it away slightly. He focused his gaze there. Cough cough, in the past, it worked on the phone. Now that the real person was here, it worked even better. Kirin arm. Get up. Invincible ultra-high frequency vibration. Hoo, shoo, shoo, done and done. Sleep. Chen Guang didn't hesitate anymore. Anyway, it was already like this. He stuffed Jiang Ye into the blanket and snuggled in naked. Jiang Ye woke up in the middle of the night. She woke up because she was hungry. Looking at Chen Guang who was snoring thunderously under the moonlight, Jiang Ye couldn't come back to her senses for a moment. Her memory seemed to have stopped a few hours ago. In the blink of an eye, it was now. Her time seemed to have been stolen. She lost a few hours of her life. Damn it. I felt like my body was hollowed out in just a moment. Is this guy made of steel or iron? Are all martial artists so scary? No, he should be the world's #1 expert now. Maybe he has some talent to begin with. That's why he's so fierce. It's not worth being happy to figure this out. How am I going to live in the future? Chapter 926. Jiang Yage moved her body slightly and felt a sharp pain coming from her lower body. Ouch, my waist. Ouch, it hurts. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Did I have 8 lifetimes of bad luck? It wasn't easy for me to hook up with the man of my dreams. It wasn't easy for me to wait for my first taste, but it only lasted for a few seconds. I only took 4 days off from the film crew. I have to go back to film the day after tomorrow. There are still martial arts scenes in the script. What should I do? Why is it so scary? Could it be that it's my first time, so I'm especially weak? But that's not right. This isn't what the books and movies say. If this guy wants it again next time, what should I do? Jiang Yage's mind was in a mess. She never thought that this kind of thing could make her doubt her life. Her outlook on life had been refreshed. Chen Guang was still sleeping soundly. One of his legs was on her body, and the other hand was unconsciously placed in front of her. His palm was holding onto her chest, and he was as cute as a baby. After Jiang Yage woke up, she didn't dare to move for a while, afraid that she would wake him up. The back of her hand would touch his lower body from time to time. Although the previous moment was short, it was unforgettable. It made her tremble with fear, and she was so nervous that her whole body was stiff. I can't accept it. This isn't fair. Oh right, after I fainted, how did this guy settle it? He should have just started, right? Did he settle it with his own hands? She seemed to feel a little sorry for him. To him, this was probably a kind of trouble. Sigh. Jiang Yage stared at the ceiling with her big, watery eyes. Her ears were ringing with Chen Guang snoring, and her nose was smelling the scent of his body. Her mind was in a daze, and messy thoughts were popping up. She was a little confused about her and Chen Guang's future. Emotionally, she didn't have any problems, but physiologically, she didn't seem to be able to satisfy his needs at all. The book said that the life under the bed was actually a necessary condition for lovers to improve and maintain their relationship. But just based on the current situation, she was simply cannon fodder. My brother, why are you so fierce? However, thinking of what happened earlier, Jiang Yage also felt that she might have gone overboard. Looking at him, he seemed to be really tired. Back then, he was angry because he thought I was too annoying and clingy. I even had to find ways to torture him, right? Once a person calmed down, his mind would be in a mess. At this time, Jiang Yage also understood the previous situation in her mind, and she started to blame herself again. I've always been this blind. I've always been very self-centered when I think and do things. I haven't noticed his feelings at all. It's always been like this. That's why he doesn't like me, right? Wait, in the past, he only had the physical strength of an ordinary person. Did he become so powerful after learning inner force? Then can I learn it too? That's right. I've also become stronger, so I don't have to be afraid of him anymore, right? Jiang Yage clenched her fists and made up her mind to become a martial arts master. Probably, a woman with a motive like hers, who wanted to set foot in the martial arts realm, should be unprecedented. 300 or 400 meters away from this single-family villa, on the top of the office building next to the Silver Bull Hotel, there was a blond man wearing camouflage clothes and infrared binoculars, quietly looking in the direction of Chen Guang and Jiang Yage's villa. On his left was a large sniper rifle about 2 meters long. From 1:00 in the morning until now, he had been lurking here for 3 hours, but he was not in a hurry. As an internationally renowned lone mercenary, he once hid in the snow for 2 whole days to ambush an important target. He only relied on the snow water in his mouth to maintain his physical strength. Then, when the target appeared, he hit it with one shot and escaped thousands of miles away. But this time, his target seemed to be different. It was not an ordinary person. In order to ensure the success rate, the employer even offered to support him with weapons. He heard that the bullets used in the sniper rifle on his left were newly developed products. The explosive power of the sniper rifle in the afternoon had shocked even an experienced mercenary like him. He felt that the bullets were not designed to be used to hit people. It was more suitable to be used to hit armored bulletproof vehicles. He didn't know what kind of unlucky people lived in this villa, to be targeted like this. He looked at his watch. There were about 2 hours before dawn. The target villa was a bit big, and most of it was hidden behind the leaves. He had to wait until the lights were turned on to locate the target. Of course, the best result was that the target would go out at dawn. Then, he could easily kill him with one shot. At this moment, the top-secret communicator he carried on his back vibrated slightly, which made him a little unhappy. Only the employer could contact him through this communicator. The only person who would look for him at this time was the mysterious employer. Didn't this person know that he should not disturb a mercenary who was carrying out an assassination mission? You've paid the money and handed the guy to me. Then, you should stay at home and have a good sleep, quietly waiting for my good news. But in the end, he controlled his temper for the sake of the other party's $20 million commission. Have you done it? As soon as the communicator was connected, a low and hoarse electronic voice came from the other side. Even though the voice had changed, the mercenary could still hear that the person on the other side had not rested yet. He was very tired, and his mind was also very depressed. He was under great pressure. The mercenary lowered his voice. Sir, please believe in my ability. I'm a professional. I never fail. You just need to wait patiently. But I can't wait. I want you to do it now. Sir, you have to understand that your request is very unreasonable for an assassin and a mercenary. I don't even know which room the target is in. There are at least 8 rooms in this villa. At least wait until they turn on the lights, right? As the two were talking, the mercenary's eyes suddenly lit up. The window of the second room on the first floor near the swimming pool suddenly lit up a little. Sir, the lights are on, but the curtains are closed. I still can't locate the target's location. It doesn't matter. You can blow them up. Before you came this afternoon, I had someone bury a TNT bomb in the corner of the villa. The yield isn't very high, but it's enough to destroy the entire house. The remote control is the black button below the communicator. Press it for 10 seconds, and it will detonate. But, no buts. As long as the bomb is detonated, will the person inside survive? Even if he is lucky enough to survive, you can kill him with the new depleted uranium bullets. But I actually don't want to cause such a big commotion. It's not good for my retreat. If you do it now, I'll add another $50 million. I'll pay a $20 million deposit to your account first. Okay. Okay. That's it then. In 5 minutes, I hope to hear news of his death. Don't disappoint me. The mercenary sat up slightly, his eyes shining with a fanatical light. This assassination mission was originally only worth $20 million, but now the employer had added another $50 million without hesitation. Moreover, the deposit immediately reached $20 million. No one in the world could resist this kind of temptation. As long as I finish this mission, I can immediately change my career. I can return to Sylvestre, buy a large farm, and use the rest of the money to buy shares in Hewlett-Packard and Intel. For the rest of my life, I can rely on the dividends from the shareholders to drive my beloved Ferrari and play with Victoria's Secret models. If possible, I also want to have dinner with Kobe. He straightened his body and locked onto the target with the infrared binoculars. His finger was on the black button of the remote control, adjusting his breath. This is the last mission of my life. I can only succeed, not fail. Jiang Yage was carefully taking a shower in the bathroom like a thief. She was applying the shower gel all over her body. As expected of the Silver Bull Hotel, even the guest room had a bathroom. Just now, she had spent a lot of effort to break free from Chen Guang's restraints. In fact, she didn't want to get out of this guy's arms. Although she was a little embarrassed, she was actually very happy. But she couldn't help it. She felt that her body was slightly sweaty and sticky, and uncomfortable. Although the whole process had only taken a few seconds, the stimulation she received was extremely intense, as if she had run a marathon. She didn't know what kind of mentality she had, but she deliberately didn't close the bathroom door. She was also looking forward to waking up Chen Guang, but she was also afraid that he would wake up. I have to move faster, finish the shower earlier, and run into this guy's arms to lie down. I don't know how he will face me when he wakes up tomorrow. Will he be like in the movies, gently asking me how I was yesterday? Or will he want to do it again early in the morning? Didn't the book say that men are especially excited when they wake up in the morning? What should I do then? Should I take it or not? What about the movie The Day After Tomorrow? Just as she was letting her imagination run wild, she heard a sudden bang from the bedroom. Following that, there was the sound of glass shattering. She quickly poked her head out to take a look. Jiang Yage felt that she would probably never forget the scene in front of her for the rest of her life. She did not understand what was happening. Oh my God! Why did Chen Guang suddenly turn crazy? What was he trying to do? At this moment, Chen Guang was flying with his butt naked in midair. Behind him was a glass window that had been shattered into powder. On the window frame, there were two distinct footprints left behind by his bare feet. Further inside, there was a huge soft bed that had completely collapsed. But these weren't the most eye-catching. What truly attracted the attention of Jiang Yage was the chaotic origin buttocks of Chen Guang, who was flying in midair. Under the illumination of the moonlight, it was exceptionally bright. That beautiful, that tender and dazzling, it was like a second moon. He was currently flying towards the sky like a cannonball. Just like Chang'e flying to the moon. Here came the problem. It was the middle of the night. When he suddenly woke up and rushed out like this, the reaction force caused the bed to collapse and the window frame to be smashed. It was obvious how much effort he put in when he flew out just now. Am I that scary? Is there a need for you to escape like this? Do I need you to escape like this? This fellow did not even wear any clothes and just rushed out with his entire body clean. Are you trying to anger me to death? Are you trying to embarrass me to death? What if someone took a picture and uploaded it on the internet, letting others take advantage of it? How am I going to face others then? And there was another problem. Why was this fellow still holding on to that cup that never left his body? Chapter 927. Jiang Yage stomped her feet angrily as she shouted, Chen Guang. What are you doing? Come back. Master Guang, who was flying in the air, did not even turn his head back as he softly said two words. Jiang Yage did not know what method he had used, but his casual voice seemed to whisper into her ears. Kill. Master Guang knew that his current situation was a little awkward. No, it was not a little awkward, but so awkward that he wanted to cover his face and find a hole to hide in. The chilly autumn wind blew on his body. Other parts of his body were not particularly cold, but a certain part of his body was especially sensitive. There was a saying that the proud dragon has regrets and the dog howls at the moon. This was roughly referring to his current situation. However, he had no other choice. He had been sleeping soundly just now, but an inexplicable sense of weariness that made his hair stand on end surged in his heart. This feeling was born out of nowhere, causing him to open his eyes abruptly without warning. His consciousness was completely awake in an instant as goosebumps appeared all over his body, as though something terrifying was about to happen. Although he had never experienced such a feeling before, he knew what it was like. This was because he was a martial sage. After his body in heaven and earth had reached the realm of being one with heaven and earth, his consciousness was subconsciously guided by the aura, allowing him to have a premonition of life and death situations that exceeded the comprehension of ordinary people. It was commonly known as the sixth sense. Of course, this did not work every time. For example, if the person who had locked onto him could completely conceal his killing intent, or if the distance was too far, the sixth sense would not be as sensitive. It was a pity that although the mercenary hiding in the building was powerful, he was not the most professional and purest killer. He was a mercenary who had been affected by the additional $50 million that his employer had thrown out, causing his state of mind to fluctuate. As such, when he was preparing to detonate the bomb, an overly dense killing intent leaked out, triggering the aura and causing the sleeping Chen Guang to be alerted even though he was dreaming, allowing him to wake up in time. After waking up, Chen Guang did not have any time to hesitate, nor did he know what he was about to face. However, his sixth sense reminded him that the danger was outside the window. If he was alone, he would not be so nervous. Unfortunately, Jiang Yage was in the room. If she used her ultimate weapon, she would definitely die. Therefore, he didn't even bother to put on his clothes. From the time he opened his eyes to the time he rushed out of the window, the interval was perhaps less than 2 seconds. In the distance, the mercenary was staring at the scene through the binoculars. His finger was pressed on the black button for about 2 to 3 seconds. Damn it, why did this person suddenly break the window and come out? What was going on? Chen Guang flew in the air, his mind spinning as he searched for the source of danger with all his might. He looked around. It was late at night, and the villa was still quiet. Crickets were chirping in the grass beside the villa's swimming pool. Everything seemed so quiet and peaceful. Suddenly, Chen Guang raised his head and looked into the distance. His eyes were focused and filled with killing intent. From that direction, he felt a strong murderous intent. The mercenary was stared at by Chen Guang from such a distance in the night. His hair stood on end and his head shrank down. His knuckles on the remote control turned white because he used too much force. He can't know I'm here, right? This is too scary. I felt like I was targeted by him just now. The mercenary adjusted his breathing and poked his head out again. He put on the binoculars and had to see the explosion with his own eyes before he could be at ease. On the other side, Chen Guang, who had jumped out of the window, had already hit the big tree outside the villa. He bounced off the tree trunk and shot down the villa. 6, 5, 4. The mercenary was counting down in his heart as he speculated distractedly. What kind of person is this? He should be sleeping at this time. But how on earth did he manage to break the window and come out? How did he know I was going to kill him? Are you even human? No wonder the employer had reminded him many times that his target this time was not an ordinary person. From the looks of it now, he wasn't just an ordinary person, but a monster. On the other side, Chen Guang shot back to the corner of the villa. That's right, he had already sensed that there was something here. 3, 2. The mercenary's countdown continued. Chen Guang landed on the ground and stomped hard with his right foot. The soil flew up and a black lump the size of a woman's fist flew up from the ground. Old Master Guang's pupils constricted. This intense sense of danger that gave him goosebumps, F***CK. TNT. Such a big gamble. No wonder he had such an intense reaction just now. Even though this thing was only the size of a woman's fist, once it exploded, the entire building would be blown away, alright? Even if he didn't die, he would still lose a layer of skin. There was no chance of Jiang Yage getting lucky. What should he do? Silently turning to look at the cup in his hand, Chen Guang's eyes lit up again. Madame Azure, I'm sorry. He rubbed his fingers together and the lid of the cup popped open. With a wave of his right hand, the cup's mouth aimed at the black lump in mid-air and shot it in with a thud. 1. 0. It's going to explode. The mercenary's breathing gradually became heavier. The signal to detonate the bomb had already been transmitted through the communicator. On the other side, Chen Guang's left hand caught the falling cup lid in mid-air. With a backhand swoosh, he closed it and tightened it. The mercenary had been looking in Chen Guang's direction since the beginning, but he had no idea what Chen Guang was doing. He was at a loss. If Chen Guang knew that the situation wasn't good, shouldn't he turn and run? What was the meaning of this strange action of his? Forget it, that wasn't important. In any case, he was dead for sure. No one could withstand the explosion of TNT. The mercenary tightened his grip on the binoculars in his hand and quietly waited for the fireworks to explode. After that, he saw Chen Guang turning his head and doing something. Chen Guang casually tossed a sparkling and translucent object towards the pool. That object fell into the pool with a plop. Was this a bomb? Forget it, this was TNT. Even if he managed to find it and throw it into the pool with his incredible speed, he would still die for sure. The surface of the pool suddenly glowed with a dazzling light. It was as if someone had turned on a searchlight below, illuminating the pool beautifully. Then, nothing happened. After another second, the mercenary heard a muffled thud. It was very muffled and very loud. What the hell was this? Was the bomb given by the employer a squib? What a scam! However, Chen Guang didn't have time to rejoice. Right now, his mind was filled with the roar of a tsunami. Chen Guang. You be asterisk starred. I'm going to kill you. Ah! I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Chen Guang silently pinched his fingers. Lord Azure was blown up again. His heart ached for her for 30 seconds. Last time, the grenade had caused her to become an afro. Her top-notch machine had also risen to the sky. This time, it had been upgraded again. He felt that she wouldn't have a good ending. Thinking about it, he felt sorry for the heavenly Holy Grail. It was one of the 10 great sacred weapons of the deity world, but he used it as an explosion-proof device. It was really useful. In any case, he wouldn't enter the cup realm for the time being. Otherwise, he would definitely be beaten to death by her. Alright, it's time to settle the score with that guy. Chen Guang raised his head and looked towards the sky. The mercenary who was a few hundred meters away felt his scalp go numb. He instinctively wanted to hide his head under the wall of the building. How could this be? It was such a dark night and I didn't have any source of light. However, I clearly felt that his gaze was completely focused on my head just now. He would never understand how strong the physical body of an inner force martial artist of the martial sage realm was. However, he didn't really retreat. Instead, he gritted his teeth. Since he had been discovered, he had no way out. He had to kill him. He stretched out his hand and touched the big sniper rifle beside him. Luckily, I still have this big sniper rifle. The depleted uranium bomb will definitely pierce through his body. D*MN employer, you actually gave me a dud. Take a deep breath. I can't be nervous. If I hit him accurately, he will definitely die. The mercenary's heart instantly calmed down. Ever since he started his career at the age of 15, it had been a full 20 years. He had killed hundreds of people and completed more than 100 missions. He had never been as focused as he was today. He had entered a completely ethereal state. The acceleration of gravity, the wind speed, the air resistance, the flight curve of the new depleted uranium bomb, the trajectory of the depleted uranium bomb, the speed of the big sniper rifle. He stood there foolishly, like a stake, the best target. His brain was like a computer, completing extremely complicated calculations in an instant. Then, he aimed at Chen Guang's torso and pulled the trigger. Now is the time, die for me. On the other side, after Chen Guang had turned the bomb into a dud, he didn't relax at all. He continued to focus on the direction where the ambusher was hiding. At the same time, he circulated his inner force in his body and accumulated power. There was a flash of fire in the distance. Chen Guang's pupils shrank and the force in his body instantly gathered on his right fist. He knew that the ambusher had opened fire. Come! He let out an overbearing roar and took a step forward. The muscles and veins on his right hand bulged as he punched forward fiercely. The chi that was compressed to the extreme gushed out from his right fist and made a loud sound like a cannonball. Under the moonlight, one could even vaguely see the ring-shaped chi cone shooting out from the front of his fist. Less than a second after he punched out, there was another explosion. Chen Guang, who was spinning, saw the light from the explosion of the bullet from about 5 to 6 meters away. He waved his left hand again and the martial sage realm force turned into a palm that swept across, sweeping away the metal shrapnel that was flying towards him due to inertia. After another 1 or 2 seconds, he raised his head again and looked at the building in the distance. The mercenary in the distance could no longer stay calm. He didn't even have the courage to fire a second round. He didn't even bother to pack up his weapon and turned around to run towards the staircase. He broke down. It was a complete and utter collapse. This person must be a devil. He actually used his fist to destroy a depleted uranium bomb that could pierce through an armored vehicle. Why was there such an incredible person in this world? If I had known that I would face such an opponent, I wouldn't have come to die even if it was $700 million, let alone $70 million. Chen Guang stood proudly in the same spot, his nose twitching slightly. The smell in his nose was familiar. The dark green light that flashed by when the bullet was blown up by his fist force was also somewhat familiar. An ordinary bullet would not be able to cause such an explosion. Chen Guang thought of the new depleted uranium bomb that he had seen in the individual military exercise. Endless anger gradually burned in his heart. He had never dreamt and dared not believe that this ultimate weapon that had been specially developed to deal with Ouyang Tianqing, the poison sect, and the dark sect to kill inner force martial artists would actually be used by someone to shoot at him. Anger could stimulate one's potential. Furthermore, he was Chen Guang, the most powerful martial artist in the history of mankind. He was the first martial sage realm martial artist to surpass the limits of mankind. An invisible aura rose from his body and shot up to the sky. Mouse, who was hiding in the bushes and peeking at him, was so nervous that it quivered and turned around to run away. Chen Guang's joints cracked as he clenched his fists. No matter who you are, I must catch you. Chao Jingming, how dare you? Chapter 928. Chen Guang, are you all right? Just at that moment, Jiang Yage's head popped out from the window as she asked cautiously. The light in the pool was gradually dimming, but the water still shone a dark red. The muffled sound just now was frightening, but it seemed as though nothing had happened in the courtyard. Old Master Guang waved his hand domineeringly. It's all right, a mere clown can't hurt me. Quickly shrink your head back. Although he has already left, it's still not safe. He had decided to chase after him. The two of them had just exchanged a few words when a hubbub of voices sounded from the other side. The guards in charge of security in the Silver Bull Hotel had sensed that something was amiss and had quickly come over. Old Master Guang hurriedly clamped his legs together. What the heck, I'm still naked. He immediately leaped up and ran back. Excuse me, I'm going to jump in again. When he returned to the room, he realized that he had made a mess in the room. However, he did not have time to waste as he planned to put on his pants and continue his chase. In the end, he was dumbfounded. The scattered pieces of cloth on the ground looked very familiar. If he was not wrong, this was the old man's Versace casual wear and CK underwear. Who was it? How despicable, to actually tear the old man's clothes into pieces while he was not paying attention. Wait, with my vigilance, this is not possible. A certain lost memory quickly surfaced in his mind, and his face immediately turned purple. Damn it, it seems that I was the one who had torn my clothes in front of Jiang Yage previously. I was the one who had caused my clothes to be torn. Every second that he wasted was an additional chance for the person who had plotted against him to escape. Old Master Guang was embarrassed for a moment, but he did not have the courage to charge out naked to catch the person. Wrapping himself in a quilt was a solution, but it would greatly affect his mobility. The other party had a huge weapon that could fire a new type of depleted uranium bomb. Although a martial sage was very powerful, it was hard to guarantee that he would not die if he was not careful and was shot in the head. My brother, what should I do now? Chen Guang's eyes turned and landed on Jiang Yage's chiffon nightgown. The sexy panties she had taken off at some point were still hanging on the ground in front of the bedroom door. Lord Guang took a deep breath. It wasn't that he couldn't wear it, but it was better than nothing. Jiang Yage shrank in the corner. His rather scary gaze made her hair stand on end. What are you going to do? Don't tell me you want to do it again now. Chen Guang waved his hand. What are you thinking about? Take off your clothes. How dare you say you don't want to have a go? It really isn't. I'm not joking. Chen Guang was afraid that he would run away. He gritted his teeth and rushed forward. My clothes were just torn. I have to catch that bastard now. Otherwise, I'll be silenced later. And then? Jiang Yage was still in disbelief. And then give me your clothes to wear. 3 seconds later, before Jiang Yage could even react, her nightgown had disappeared from her body like a whirlwind. Chen Guang's movements were too fast and nimble. With a swoosh, he was gone. Before he left, he hurriedly said, I looked around earlier. There seems to be an air raid shelter under this villa. Go and hide there first. Don't come out unless it's necessary. Wait for me to come back. It'll only take 5 minutes at most. This guy is serious. Jiang Yage screamed. Chen Guang had already disappeared. The tattered curtain swayed, as if a gust of wind had just blown past. She hurriedly went to find her casual clothes. Just as she was putting them on, she suddenly came back to her senses. Something's wrong. Something's definitely wrong. After a while, she reacted. He had snatched away her chiffon nightgown. That's right, he even took away my underwear. Now this guy is wearing my underwear. It's so embarrassing. On the other side, Chen Guang was actually quite embarrassed. There were people coming and going from the hotel outside, and many of them were approaching Jiang Yage's villa. Fortunately, he was now very capable. It was late at night. Although there were many people, he hid in the shadows of the trees along the way, restrained his breath, and became one with nature. He floated like a phantom, so no one noticed him. Why was it a phantom? Because the chiffon nightgown was pink. Occasionally, a hotel guard noticed this flash of light, but in a trance, he thought he was hallucinating. It's the middle of the night. My eyes must be playing tricks on me. Why would there be a female ghost flying out of nowhere? The guard collected his thoughts and rushed to the villa area. He heard that there was a big shot living there, and the commotion was quite big. If something happened, no one could bear the responsibility. Tonight was not very peaceful. He had to be on full alert. The wind blew past Qinguang. The light turned into a shadow and was left behind by him. Ever since he returned to this world as the true martial saint emperor, even when he was fighting with Ouyang Tianqing and the others, or when he broke the depleted uranium bomb with his bare hands, he did not go all out. Because there was no opponent in this world who was worthy of him going all out. He was afraid that if he was too strong and used too much force, the internal force could even injure himself. I can't even beat myself when I'm angry. But at this moment, he allowed the inner strength to run wild in his body like a raging river. It was as if his legs were equipped with wind and fire wheels, allowing him to be like the wind, like the light, and like a ghost, silently but rapidly dashing through the forest. At this moment, even if someone was lucky enough to see him, they would not be able to clearly capture his figure. Usain Bolt maintained the limit of a normal human's 100-meter dash, and his top speed was only around 10 meters per second. But Qinguang had relied on his internal energy and a perfect physique that surpassed the limits of humans to raise this limit by several times. From the time he jumped back to the villa to snatch Jiang Yage's pajamas and rushed out, it seemed to take a long time, but in fact, it took less than 30 seconds. Then, he rushed out of the villa and went straight to the building where the ambusher was hiding. He crossed a straight line distance of 300 to 400 meters. Although to avoid the crowd, he took a slight detour along the shadows of the trees, a total distance of about 500 meters. It took him less than 15 seconds to rush downstairs. He stomped heavily on the ground, leaving deep footprints on the concrete floor. The gust of wind that followed him blew his nightgown into the air. If it wasn't for the fact that the person wearing this outfit was a pure man, it would actually be quite beautiful. Qinguang thought for a few seconds. He was not in a hurry to go upstairs immediately. He had already delayed for a while. The ambusher had seen his methods and would not have the guts to wait for death on the roof. He would probably find a way to escape. Just as he was thinking about this, he heard the violent roar of an engine coming from the exit of the underground parking lot. The next moment, a Yamaha with wide tires rushed out from the side of the parking lot, roaring toward the street corner. The driver of the Yamaha looked up and saw Qinguang standing not far away. The Yamaha suddenly changed direction, the friction of the tires on the ground causing smoke to fill the air. It spun around and rushed in the other direction. That's right, the driver of the Yamaha was the blonde mercenary from the rooftop. He was about to go crazy. He had taken the elevator from the rooftop to the underground parking lot, then rode the motorcycle and rushed out. The whole process had taken less than 2 minutes, but this ghost-like man was already standing there waiting for him. Others might find his current appearance funny, but for the golden-haired mercenary who was trying to escape, the appearance of the man in a nightgown was not funny at all. This nightmarish guy was scarier than the water monster in Loch Ness. The mercenary did not even dare to hope that he could pass by the man on the motorcycle like a normal person. A man in his sleep could sense that he was about to detonate a bomb from hundreds of meters away, react in time, and completely lock onto his position. How could he not sense his aura now? Qinguang also reacted swiftly and chased after Mo the moment he saw this scene. He could not let this guy run at full speed. Otherwise, with the Yamaha's performance, it would be difficult for him to run on foot. Unexpectedly, just as he took a few steps forward, that guy's Samyad exploded with a loud bang. The Yamaha's body turned into a dazzling ball of flame and rushed along the road for dozens of meters, leaving a trail of flames in its wake. As for the man in the car, no, he was no longer human. The moment the Yamaha exploded, the man was completely engulfed in flames and thrown further than the motorcycle. He fell to the ground, motionless and still burning. Chen Guang was stunned. In the end, he was still a step too late and was silenced. No, his employer might not have intended to let him live from the beginning. As for who this person's employer was, Chen Guang did not have to think too hard to guess. It could only be Chao Jingming. However, Chen Guang did not expect him to be so crazy. He knew that he was with Jiang Yage, yet he still dared to send someone to use TNT, which would definitely cause additional casualties. If he had not reacted fast enough, Jiang Yage's fate would not be much better than that of the Burning Man. The explosion here would definitely attract more people. Since the man was already dead, there was no point in staying here. Chen Guang turned around and left. Things had escalated to this point, and there would be no room for reconciliation. The news would also spread to Yanjing, and the elders would have to do something about it. Look, this is the Chao Jingming you want to protect. He treated me and Jiang Yage like this today, and he will do the same to you in the future. He had committed a big taboo. If he had not done what he did today, the situation would still be under control. But now, he had the intention to kill. Even if he was killed on the spot and did not leave any evidence, the situation had already gone beyond the limit. Sometimes, evidence was not so important. He would go to Yanjing tomorrow and put an end to this matter. Chen Guang walked along the wall of the Silver Bull Hotel step by step, and his mind was in a mess. The guards in the hotel would not arrive for a while, and Chen Guang was not in a hurry to cover his face and hide. Suddenly, a white Maserati screeched to a stop beside him. Chen Guang. Chen Guang turned around with a pale face and stared blankly at the person sitting in the driver's seat. Bai Hua. What the hell? I am still wearing Jiang Yage's pink nightgown. Wait, my crotch is also cold. That's right, and her underwear. Run. Chapter 929. With no time to think about it, Chen Guang pinched his nose and forced himself to use a sharp voice to shout, "Damn pervert, go away." I've seen this kind of pickup line many times. Then he ran away, thinking that the old man's acting skills were on point. Although he didn't have any makeup on, he should be able to fool Bai Hua in the middle of the night, right? Unexpectedly, Bai Hua stepped on the accelerator and chased after him. Stop pretending. I saw you from afar just now. At first, I couldn't believe it. It took me a long time to confirm that it was you, and then I came over. I heard an explosion just now, and now I can see the fire. What happened? Why are you here? F***CK, are you poisonous? You actually peeped at me from afar for a long time when I wasn't paying attention. Brother Bai. Do you often drive a luxury car in the middle of the night to hunt on the streets? I didn't expect you to be like this, Brother Bai. Chen Guang saw that he couldn't deny it, so he had no choice but to stop and get into his car. As for why Bai Hua would appear here, Chen Guang wasn't surprised. Jiang Yage lived in this villa, and Bai Hua's status was similar to hers. It was reasonable for him to also live in this large executive-level hotel. It was just that he deserved to be unlucky, to actually bump into him at this time of the day. So the problem was, how should he explain it to him? Chen Guang hesitated. In fact, he wanted to tell the truth. Tell him what happened today and let him understand that this is what Yuan Lin Jingwei did for the person who interceded. Now he wants my life, and he even wants to kill Jiang Yage. Do you still have the face to defend him and smooth things over? But after thinking about it, Chen Guang still felt that he couldn't say it. On one hand, the situation had become serious, and it was obvious that it would become more serious tomorrow. It was no longer something that second or third generation people like Bai Hua and Lin Jingwei could get involved in. Now, whoever got involved would be unlucky. There was no need to drag Bai Hua and Lin Jingwei into this mess. Moreover, they couldn't do anything about it. Letting them know would only make them feel guilty for no reason. On the other hand, if she told him the truth, wouldn't he be able to guess that she was wearing Jiang Ye's pajamas? Wouldn't that cause an uproar? Chen Guang remembered that Bai Hua used to like Jin Shiyue. When he gave up on Jin Shiyue, he told himself that he must treat Jin Shiyue well. Therefore, it was hard to guarantee that this matter wouldn't spread from his mouth to Jin Shiyue. Jiang Ye and herself would have to give Jin Shiyue an explanation for what happened today, but they couldn't let it spread to her ears from a third party. Therefore, she couldn't tell him the truth. So what should he do now? Chen Guang decided to make up a story. Tonight's ambush didn't leave any evidence, so he could only rely on his own guesses. Even if Bai Hua knew that he was lying, there was nothing he could do. It's nothing. I couldn't sleep at night, so I came out for a run. Unknowingly, I ran here. As you know, I'm the world's #1 expert now. A normal amount of exercise isn't even enough for me to catch my breath. Unknowingly, I ran a little too far. I also heard the explosion just now, so I came over to watch the show. As a veteran best actor, Chen Guang didn't have any extravagant hopes that his words could fool Bai Hua. However, he still tried his best to control his expression and tone, bringing out his acting skills to the limit. I'm the benchmark of the current generation of actors. I'm super dedicated. As long as I want to act, I have to act well. Unexpectedly, Bai Hua, who was driving, only said, "Oh, so that's how it is." Chen Guang was stunned. F***CK, what do you mean, so that's how it is? You believe me just like that? My brother. What's going on in your head? Bai Hua immediately changed the topic. Actually, when you mentioned the Xinlu continent to us in the afternoon, Jingwei, and I thought you were just talking nonsense. Later, we thought that you might have suddenly become a martial arts expert and showed signs of Qigong deviation. Isn't it also shown in the TV series? Martial arts experts all have heart demons. Maybe you unknowingly developed hallucinations and really thought that you had transmigrated. Bai Hua comforted Chen Guang, but it's not a big deal. I believe that you will be able to walk out of it. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. Thank you, Brother Bai, for your auspicious words. Something's wrong. Something's really wrong. Why is he so calm? Why did he suddenly mention heart demons? This doesn't make sense, right? How can this guy be so calm after seeing me in this state? What kind of terrible thought was going through his mind just now? Chen Guang looked down at the pink dress on his body. Oh my God, I'm so ashamed. Wait, what is this guy thinking? Does he think that I practice martial arts to the point of Qigong deviation and opened some strange attribute in my heart? I just said that I was jogging at night. He thinks that I've been possessed by heart demons and turned into a pervert who likes to wear women's clothes and stroll on the streets at night. Damn. What a scam. Brother Bai. You. Let me explain. No. You don't have to explain. I understand, really. What do you understand? Times are different now. Society is improving and people's views are evolving. Although your hobby is a little special, everyone has their own unique hobby. Just like I have a weird hobby. When I drink yogurt, I have to stir it with a spoon for a long time. It's also very awkward, right? It's really not what you think. You don't have to explain it to me on purpose. I won't laugh at you. This isn't something to be ashamed of. Don't worry, I will never tell anyone about it. No wonder you could harden your heart to reject Shiryu back then. At that time, I couldn't understand it. Now I understand that you already had signs of this at that time, right? It's just that it wasn't as serious as it is now. Chen Guang's eyes widened. Does this mean that this fellow's thinking is even more biased than what I'm worried about? Not only does he think that I have a hobby of cross-dressing and jogging at night, he even thinks that I don't like women at all. If I knew it would be like this, I might as well just directly admit to the matter with Jiang Yage. However, this kind of thing can't be seen by ordinary people. Since I saw it, why don't you go to my room and change into a set of clothes? This time, other than looking for you, I have other business matters to attend to. I have to stay for 2 more days, so I brought a change of clothes with me. No need. Oh, it's fine. Are you going to wait until dawn before you change? Sorry. I didn't mean to pry into your privacy. I just couldn't hold back my curiosity. I'm a jungler. Are you done yet? Your casual tone makes me want to strangle you to death. Chen Guang clenched his fists so hard that his knuckles turned white. He was trying his best to control his urge to kill him. He really wanted to be like in the Men in Black movies. He wanted to grab a flash and take a picture of this guy's head, causing him to completely lose his memory. Forget it, I'll just strangle you to death. By the way, you really look like Miss Chin. You dressed like this. Even your eyebrows are 50 to 60% similar. I've been guessing the relationship between the two of you. In fact, you're her younger brother, right? Chen Guang's heart skipped a beat. This guy's foxtail is about to be revealed. Don't change the topic. My clothes, hey, look at how loyal I am to help you keep your secret. I'm also sincere to your sister. Just do me a favor and help me ask her out later, okay? Chen Guang's breathing became heavier. Not good. The old man's killing intent is about to go out of control. Who the hell has the mood to care about your trivial matters now? Tomorrow, the old man will be busy with something big, and you're telling me this now. Are you trying to make me laugh? In fact, he really couldn't blame Bai Hua. In the afternoon, after he and Lin Jingwei's attempt to smooth things over failed, Lin Jingwei returned to school. As for Bai Hua, he went to attend the reception hosted by Tianjin Energy. He also didn't know that Jiang Yage had actually followed him closely. She had quietly come to 5 Capital City without everyone knowing and was also staying at the same hotel. At the company's reception, he drank 2 more glasses. Later, after he came out, he also called the elders in Yanjing and asked about Chen Guang. At that time, the elders in Yanjing thought that they had already secretly sold Jiang Yage to Chen Guang, so this matter should be over. At that time, they simply told Bai Hua not to ask about it anymore and that the matter was over. Bai Hua believed it. If Chen Guang did not pursue the matter, it meant that the matter was completely over. So now, in his mind, the problem was on a completely different level from Chen Guang's. Bai Hua thought that the fire and explosion at the place where Chen Guang had walked past was just an ordinary car accident. He didn't have the mood to care about it. On the other side, Chen Guang's lungs were about to explode. Seeing that he really couldn't talk to Bai Hua, he regretted getting in his car. Seeing that Bai Hua was going to drive into the hotel again, he didn't have much time to think. He opened the door, jumped out, and closed Bai Hua's door. Relying on his super strength and invincible body, he landed on the ground with a perfect posture and shouted, "Goodbye." At the same time, he bounced off the ground and ran forward. Bai Hua stopped the car and watched Chen Guang's figure disappear into the woods. Hey! Don't jump out of the car. If you don't want to, just pretend that I didn't mention it. I was just joking with you. I'm not the kind of person who would use this kind of thing to blackmail you. But you've already blackmailed me. You despicable person who says one thing but means another. Chen Guang didn't want to talk to him at all and disappeared in a few leaps. He took a big detour and finally returned to Jiang Yage's villa. At this time, Jiang Yage didn't hide in the air raid shelter. Instead, she was sitting in the living room, dressed properly, waiting for him. "They're all gone?" Chen Guang asked as soon as he entered the door. Jiang Yage nodded. "Yes." "Did you catch them?" "I was a step too late and was silenced. I didn't want to complicate matters, so I came back directly." "What did the people at the hotel ask?" "They asked a lot of things, but I didn't say anything. My grandfather called and said that he would send someone to pick me up immediately. We have to change places tonight. I'm sorry to have dragged you into this." "It's nothing. Didn't you protect me too?" "What did your grandfather say?" "He was very angry." "Aw. Don't be nervous. I didn't talk to him about us. He just asked you to go to Yanjing immediately. It's best if you leave with me tomorrow morning. They've now controlled Chao Jingming, but they still don't have any evidence. They will hold an interrogation meeting when you arrive." Chen Guang grinned. Chao Jingming's actions had indeed touched the taboo. If he had succeeded in finding a killer, he might have been questioned by all parties. But as long as he refused to admit it and refused to give in, no one could do anything to him without evidence. Some people wanted his life, but others would protect him. But now, not only did he not succeed, but his true intentions were revealed. Today, he threatened his and Jiang Yage's lives. This completely angered Jiang Yage's grandfather, but at the same time, it made others feel threatened. "You're finally willing to interrogate Chao Jingming, but his hands and feet are so clean, and there's no evidence that can be used against him. You can't learn from Detective Conan and come up with a deduction. You can't make him confess everything just by saying that you're the murderer, right?" Since Chao Jingming dared to do it, although he didn't consider everything thoroughly, he was still a person with some means. Chapter 930. The two chatted for a while, and Chen Guang decided not to wait for the people sent by old Jiang. Instead, he drove Jiang Yage to the headquarters of the Guangding Bureau. On the way, he called old Jiang, and the old men there also thought that Chen Guang's people were more reliable. Tonight was obviously a restless night, but at Jiang Yage's villa, the bullets were completely shattered by Chen Guang's fists, and they did not leave any obvious traces. The big bomb was detonated in the pond by the Holy Grail. Although it was loud at the time, by the time people arrived, there was no sound, and the Holy Grail had sunk to the bottom of the water. Chen Guang was too lazy to bring up this matter again. The person who did it was Chao Jingming, so the police of the Five Capital could not do anything about it. If the matter was accidentally blown up, and Wu Tong, who had returned to the Five Capital as the bureau chief, knew that he was involved, it would be troublesome if he got involved. In the large city of Five Capital, even people like Bai Hua, Lin Jingwei, and Secretary Ma were not qualified to participate in this matter. Only Chen Guang, as the person involved, had the right and ability to continue to pursue this matter. If it continued to blow up, it would do no good to anyone. The two did not even wait until the next morning. About 2 hours later, they boarded the plane that would set off at 6:30 in the morning. Originally, Xan Qin, Wu Miaowan, and several other experts from the headquarters also wanted to go with them, but Chen Guang refused. He did not want to give the impression that he had tied the entire headquarters to himself to threaten others. There was no practical meaning to it. If something really happened, it was more convenient for him to come and go as he pleased. If he brought them along, it would mean that he had to fight to the death. Although he had a problem with the old men, he also understood that the country actually needed them. Over the years, Huaxia had gone from a weak post-war country to a situation where everyone had clothes to wear and food to eat in just a short period of 50 to 60 years. Although there were still problems in this era, if it were someone else, they might not have done as well as the old men. There was a fundamental difference between Chen Guang and Ouyang Tianqing. He was not that selfish, nor did he need to be. Everything that Chen Guang wanted was in his cup. These things in the secular world were all there to better serve the cup. He didn't need to plunder any resources from other people in this world. He had his 3,000 worlds and sea of stars. Before he became the master of the Holy Grail, he was a young man of the new era who grew up under the influence of the 4 modernizations and the 5-starred red flag. He had a deep-rooted view of people and things, and he had no intention of changing it. As soon as the plane arrived in Yanjing, they were picked up by old Zhang's car. Old Zhang's face was livid. When he saw his granddaughter's pale face, his face darkened even more. "You were scared yesterday, right?" "I already know everything." Jiang Yage actually wanted to tell him that she wasn't scared. The mess in the villa was caused by Chen Guang's kick. There was another reason why her face was pale. The 5 seconds last night were really unbearable. But she didn't dare to say it. She just held her suitcase tightly, shook her head, and said, "I'm fine. I don't know what happened, but Chen Guang went after them." Well, thanks to little Chen. Chen Guang didn't dare to take credit. "No, they came for me. If I hadn't been there, it wouldn't have had anything to do with Solomon. Forget it. Let's not talk about it anymore. Anyway, we thought things were too simple. If we had warned Chao Jingming earlier, things wouldn't have become like this." Chen Guang curled his lips. He didn't even want to give old Jiang a way out. "I'm not happy. No, I have to give him another blow." "Oh, Grandpa Jiang, are you suspecting him now?" Old Jiang was stunned by Chen Guang's words. Chen Guang really didn't give him any face. Jiang Yage quietly poked Chen Guang's waist. Chen Guang didn't notice it at all. "It's still the same problem, right? No evidence, right?" "Yes, no evidence." "Then why can you interrogate him now?" Old Jiang was finally annoyed by Chen Guang's sarcastic teasing. "Brat! Shut up. I haven't asked you what you two did last night. Why were you in Solomon's room?" Chen Guang's face stiffened. "Oh no, I've been caught in a trap. What happened last night was too short. Later, I fell asleep and was woken up halfway. On the way to Yanjing, I fell into a deep sleep from time to time. Now I almost forgot that Jiang Yage seemed to have been eaten by me, didn't I?" "No, it was me who was eaten by her." She felt that she was inexplicably feeling a little inferior in her heart. He turned to look at Jiang Yage, trying to understand her mind. If Jiang Yage wanted him to say it directly, Chen Guang didn't intend to hide it. As a man, he had to admit it. If she had the ability, she could kill him. But if Jiang Yage didn't want to be exposed for the time being, he would follow her wishes. Anyway, she had the final say. As soon as her eyes met Chen Guang's, Jiang Yage carefully looked at the back of her grandpa's bald head sitting in the passenger seat. A second later, she shook her head like a rattle. Chen Guang understood. "Grandpa Jiang, didn't you ask Solomon to persuade me? I thought that she was a celebrity, and I am also a celebrity now. It would have a big impact if we met outside, so I simply sent Solomon back to the hotel." "Then what did you say? What did you do?" Old Jiang turned his head and asked, gnashing his teeth. Chen Guang looked calm. "Actually, I didn't say anything. Solomon asked me to understand your difficulties, and I understood. Then we briefly talked about the drama that Solomon was shooting recently. I would probably join the crew next week at the latest. To be honest, I invested a lot of money in this drama, and I couldn't afford to lose it. Later, we talked about poetry and the philosophy of life. I was a little sleepy, and it was not convenient for me to drive, so I simply stayed in the guest room of Solomon's villa. I planned to go back to school early the next morning, but I didn't expect that something like that would happen again. Jiang Yage quickly changed the topic and added fuel to the fire. Yes, I finally persuaded him not to pursue it, but Chao Jingming is, old Jiang sighed. Young people nowadays really don't understand the rules. Chen Guang snorted. This can't be explained by the words don't understand the rules, right? He wanted to kill me. Old Jiang knew that what Chen Guang said was reasonable. That's why we have to hold this trial today. Whether he wants to give you or us an explanation, he has to give us an explanation. But there's no evidence, right? What can we do? Yesterday, old Chao came to Wujing to find me in person. Isn't his intention obvious? Old Jiang fell silent again. Chen Guang was right. Old Chao would definitely side with his family, because once he was convicted, he would be sentenced to death. If it was someone else who wanted to deal with Jiang Yuanchao might be sentenced to death. Old man Jiang would never give up so easily. Even if he had to lose his head, he would fight to the end even if he had to sacrifice his dignity. Jiang Yage also wanted to go to the trial, but old Jiang didn't agree. Instead, he asked the driver and the guards to send her back to the West Mountain Villa. Old Jiang had protected her very well all these years, keeping her away from these things. This time, she was accidentally involved, and her life was immediately in danger. Old Jiang was also scared and had to be more careful. Although Chao Jingming was now under control, he had been in business for many years. It was impossible for him to not have any trusted aides outside. Even Jean Shuyue's filming at the Vertical Shop Film City had been temporarily halted. She had also returned to the villa to wait for the limelight to pass. Jingming, things have come to this point. We watched you grow up, and we don't want things to turn out like this. But this time, you really went too far. Tell us what you think. You have done it, and you have to give us an explanation. In the conference room, a group of old men were sitting, each with different expressions. Chao Jingming sat at the bottom. His face was a little pale, but his expression was still calm. He put his hands on his knees and rubbed his fingers against each other, slightly revealing his nervousness at this time. Leaders, I don't know what you are talking about. Yes, things had come to this point, and he didn't intend to give in. He knew that he couldn't give in, or he would definitely die. Even his father, who was sitting at the top of the table, couldn't save him. Old Lin, you can't be so sure. We have done a lot of investigations recently, and indeed, we couldn't find any evidence that Xiao Chao was involved in this matter. Maybe he is a remnant of Ouyang Tianqing. That's right. Xiao Chao has been around for so many years. Although he is a little arrogant, he has never made a mistake of principle. We can't just judge him based on subjective assumptions. Old Jean looked at the people around him with a gloomy face. From time to time, he would look up at old Lin in the middle. It seemed that old Chao, who had rushed back last night, had done a lot of work for others. Not to mention the others, old Jean had actually received a call from old Chao. At this time, he did a rough count in his heart. Other than a few people who hadn't expressed their opinions, nearly half of the people present were on old Chao's side. Chao Jingming carefully observed everyone. Last night, when he found out that Qin Guang wasn't dead, he had actually thought about escaping. However, the world was so big, where could he escape to? Furthermore, Qin Guang wasn't an ordinary person. His personal strength was so terrifying. Even if he escaped, he would be found sooner or later. Then, even if the others didn't pursue it, if Qin Guang continued to chase after him, who could stop him? Luckily, my father helped me, and I didn't leave behind any evidence. The current situation was that even if the entire world knew that I did it, there were so many people speaking up for me. As long as I didn't admit it, they couldn't do anything to me just based on their guesses. Chao Jingming took a deep breath. His mind quickly went through the words that he had communicated with his father, and then he opened his mouth. Leaders, I don't understand what's going on. Chen Guang accused me of colluding with Ouyang Tianqing and purposely lured him to Ninghai. But in reality, even if I wasn't involved, wouldn't he still go to Ninghai? Moreover, with his original position, he had the right to know the whereabouts of Lord Wen. Yes, I did have a little conflict with Chen Guang before, but that was just a trivial matter. Why would I take it to heart? With my identity, why would I collude with Ouyang Tianqing? What good would it do me? I didn't have to. Alright, now that things have come to this, I admit that I did mention it to Jiang Yage carelessly, but I didn't think too much at that time. I just wanted to be friendly with him and ease our relationship. If my careless words caused trouble to Chen Guang, I can apologize to him. But other than that, I don't know anything, and I didn't do anything. He couldn't deny anything. If he admitted that he leaked information to Jiang Yage, he could increase his credibility. But he definitely couldn't admit what happened last night. At this moment, the door of the conference room opened. Chen Guang and old Jiang stood side by side at the door. Chapter 931. Chao Jingming turned around and saw Chen Guang. Not only did he not avoid Chen Guang's gaze, a warm and humble smile appeared on his face. If Chen Guang was not a world-class acting master, he would have been fooled by Chao Jingming's kindness. Chen Guang had heard every word that the man had said and he wanted to say to Chao Jingming, I have never seen such a shameless person. Shamelessness was the passport of a despicable person. It was a pity that Chao Jingming did not become an actor. Chao Jingming was also well versed in the theory of falsehood and truth. He had admitted some of what he had admitted and said that Chao Jingming was showing goodwill to him. As for the things that were truly fatal, Chao Jingming was adamant and refused to admit them. At the same time, Chen Guang was also paying attention to the way the people in the meeting room looked at him. Everyone here was a smart person, and everyone looked very amiable. Even old Chao had a warm smile on his face, making people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. However, it was a pity that Chen Guang was a world-class acting master and a martial sage who had reached the oneness of heaven and man realm. No matter how well they acted or how amiable their eyes were, they could not hide it from Chen Guang. As long as a person had hatred in his heart, no matter how well he hid it in his eyes or how calm his brows were, there would definitely be some flaws in his facial muscles. However, these flaws were too hidden and ordinary people would not be able to see them with their naked eyes. Furthermore, even if someone had sharp eyes and could see the problem, they would not be able to understand the meaning behind it due to their lack of life experience. It was a pity that Chen Guang was a martial sage and he had a pair of eagle eyes that he had learned from practicing darts. Furthermore, his acting skills had reached the pinnacle of the human race. Now that he had something on his mind, he was fully focused on understanding it. Coupled with the attraction of the heaven and earth, the hostility of these people could not hide. After pondering for a short while, he walked in with a faint smile on his face. Chen Guang greets all the leaders. He still acted like a martial artist and cupped his fists in greeting. He was very Jianghu. Shao Chen, take a seat. The old man waved his hand and gestured for Chen Guang to sit down. Chen Guang did not hesitate. He pulled out the chair next to Chao Jingming and sat down. Don't be fooled by how mysterious and incredible this place is. In fact, there is a universal principle when it comes to making decisions in this world. Meeting. There was no better way to combine everyone's wisdom and take everyone's opinions into consideration than a meeting. Old Master Jiang sat down next to Old Master Jean. Old Master Jean asked softly, "What did little Chen say on the way here?" Master Jiang stamped his feet angrily and said, "Don't mention it. Solomon said that she finally got Chen Guang's work done yesterday, but such a thing happened last night. It's useless to say anything now. This kid is holding back his anger right now. I have a feeling that he'll make a scene later. In the past, if he didn't make a scene in front of us, things could still be eased. Today, everyone is here, and it can be considered a big occasion. If he continues to make a scene, there will be no room for negotiation. Old Master Jiang said grumpily, he already wants my granddaughter and his life. What room do we need? That's true, but according to the situation today, I'm afraid our efforts will be in vain. Old Master Jean smiled bitterly. Old Master Jiang raised his eyebrows and said, what do you mean? Are you going to pretend that nothing has happened? Old Master Jean said helplessly, but according to the information at the scene last night, the person who did it was burned beyond recognition. No, there was no corpse left at that time. Although there were traces of fighting at the scene, the fragments were too broken, and we can't identify the model, nor can we find any fragments with codes. We can't prove anything. Thinking of this, Old Master Jiang sighed. That's true. He's full of tricks, cunning and sinister. Yesterday, Old Chow talked to a lot of people. The general idea was that although Chao Xingming is suspicious, we can't touch his son just because of speculation. So, can we really turn a big problem into a small one and a small one? Chao Xingming's son is a life, but my granddaughter is a life. What a joke. Look at you, you are angry again, right? That brings us back to the old story. Evidence, there is no evidence. Is there no evidence in the communication system? There is no record of it. At this moment, Grandpa Jiang fell into silence. He was wondering if he really had to do as Chen Guang threatened old Chow yesterday and make a move himself. This wasn't something to be trifled with. On the other side, the old man in the middle waited for Chen Guang to sit down and said, okay, now that everyone is here, let's make it clear. Hearing this, Chen Guang was expressionless, but his heart was already half cold. Make it clear. What was there to make it clear? It was a matter of life and death. Was there any need to negotiate? On the other side, Chao Xingming had already stood up when he heard this. He took the initiative to reach out to Chen Guang and said, Little Chen, we had some small conflicts before, but the whole thing was a misunderstanding. I have no malice. I have just explained to the leaders. The reason why I mentioned it to Solomon was that I wanted to help you. Chen Guang crossed his hands and had no interest in shaking hands with him. Help me. Don't tell me I have to thank you. You're exaggerating. I didn't help much, but I did something bad out of good intentions. Since you have such a big opinion of me, I'll apologize to you here today in front of everyone. How about we let this matter go? Chen Guang almost laughed. He had underestimated the thickness of this person's skin. Unexpectedly, in the huge conference room, many people began to echo Chao Xingming's words one after another. What these people meant was that there was no need to make such a big deal out of such a small matter. After explaining to each other, the matter was over. Little Chow had already apologized in public. Even if he really did something bad with good intentions, there was no need to hold on to it. From the beginning to the end, Chen Guang looked at these people with a blank expression. There was an indescribable strange feeling in his heart. He seemed to be hallucinating. In his eyes, these seemingly kind old men were smiling so warmly. But in his eyes, they were clearly all kinds of demons and ghosts. The smiles on their faces made people feel no warmth in their hearts. It was all bone-piercing cold. Chen Guang felt that he would definitely not be able to learn this in his life. Weren't they tired of living like this? Before, Chao Xingming deliberately leaked the news, which could be put aside. Last night's incident, they actually completely ignored it. Just as Chen Guang was thinking about this, another person next to old Chow stood up and placed a stack of documents on the table. He said, "All right, since we've spoken, then the matter between Little Chow and Little Chin is over. As for what happened to Little Chin last night, after a thorough investigation by the Intelligence Department overnight, there are some new findings here." As he said this, he pushed the thick stack of documents in his hand towards Chen Guang. He said, "According to the analysis of the intelligence personnel, all signs indicate that this is very likely to be a revenge operation initiated by the trusted subordinates of the former director of the Special Affairs Bureau, Ouyang Tianqing. Fortunately, Little Chin is now powerful, so he was able to turn the misfortune into a blessing. I think we should further strengthen the crackdown on the remnants of the Special Affairs Bureau. On the other hand, we should also give Little Chin an appropriate commendation." Chen Guang did not even bother to flip through the documents in front of him. There was no need to look at them. Since they could come up with something like this in this situation, the documents must be flawless and impeccable. However, no matter how well it was done, Chen Guang was not the least bit interested. He knew that it must be fake. Ouyang Tianqing's way of controlling his subordinates did not have any special methods. He relied on nothing more than a unique poison that only he had the antidote for. Now that Ouyang Tianqing was dead, even if his trusted subordinates were lucky enough to survive, they would probably be in a constant state of anxiety, afraid of dying from the poison. How would they have the leisure and courage to seek revenge for Ouyang Tianqing? Every man for himself, and Ouyang Tianqing did not have that much charisma. "Little Chin, take a look at the documents. You're the director of the General Directorate of Light. There's no harm in knowing more information," Old Man Chow said with a smile. He felt that today's situation was already in the bag. Chen Guang looked up slightly, his eyes flashing. He said coldly, "I won't look at the documents, it's meaningless. I just think that your acting was really good." Everyone was stunned. Old Chow furrowed his brows. "What did you say?" No one expected Chen Guang to say something like that in this situation. Chen Guang raised his voice again. "I say, your acting was really good. It's a pity that I didn't invite you old actors to the movie I invested in. Little Chen, this is an official meeting. Don't mess around." Even the old man in the middle could not hold it in. Chen Guang was slapping all of them in the face. As Chen Guang chuckled, he asked, "What did I not say? Do you guys really think that I was being unreasonable before? That I was making a fuss? Chao Jingming used Jiang Yage to leak information to me, was it really to help me? Even a 3-year-old wouldn't believe it. Also, I know that Chao Jingming's hands are very clean. Since he did it, he wouldn't leave any evidence behind. But what I encountered last night was the new armor-piercing depleted uranium bomb that I saw during the military exercise. How could Ouyang Tianqing's men get their hands on such a thing? Or is it that Chao Jingming is actually Ouyang Tianqing's man? Are you indirectly helping him admit it?" "Nonsense. You're slandering me." Chao Jingming was furious, as though he had been wronged. "Chen Guang, don't think that you can slander others without a bottom line just because you have some success now. Every armor-piercing bomb has a serial number and is registered. Even if one is missing, we can find it immediately." Chen Guang turned to look at him. "Since you can say such things, I'm even more certain that you actually know everything. You're also prepared. Rules are set by people. You know better than me how to cheat. You know it all. Enough. Have you become so condescending to this extent? You're so sure that I want to harm you based on your assumptions. Now, you're saying that I hired someone to kill you. If you want to pin a crime on someone, you can always find a pretext. Didn't I tease you a little about your youth? I didn't expect you to be so narrow-minded. You've always hated me, haven't you? Now that you think you're strong enough, you want to settle the score with me. What do you want? You're just acting on your own selfishness. Do you want me to kill you because I did something bad with my good intentions? That's ridiculous. Everything needs evidence. Everything needs laws. Don't forget, although you're a martial artist today, you're also the chief of the Guangdong General Headquarters. Weren't you the one who hated the most when inner force martial artists looked down on laws and treated human lives like grass? Now that you're in the same position as Ouyang Tianqing, do you want to become the same person as Ouyang Tianqing? Do you want to lynch me? Come on. If my death can awaken some people, and let the leaders understand that martial artists are wolves that cannot be tamed, then I'm willing to sacrifice myself. Chao Xingming's words were sharp, and he was retreating in order to advance. Chapter 932. If it wasn't for the fact that Qin Guang had already seen through everything and was certain that Chao Xingming was the culprit, he might even start to doubt himself. He was right. The old man was the new Ouyang Tianqing. The other elders in the room were secretly terrified. Chao Xingming was not lying. No, the current Qin Guang was even stronger than Ouyang Tianqing in the past. He was also younger, and his abilities would continue to improve in the future. Other than Qin Guang, the second most powerful person in the martial world, faction leader Wen, was also one of his people. His power and prestige among the sects in the martial world was even stronger than Ouyang Tianqing's, who had climbed up step by step with schemes and tricks. Ouyang Tianqing had cultivated the ultimate divine skill, and his actions were the style of the evil sects in the martial world. Qin Guang, on the other hand, had appeared out of nowhere. Once he appeared, he displayed absolute dominance, and turned the tide to destroy the evil sections. His position and reputation in the hearts of the people of Jianghu would have made him the leader of a righteous sect in ancient times. No one would have dared to disobey him. The talent he displayed on the path of martial arts was also a rare peerless genius that only appeared once in 1,000 years. Chao Xingming's words reminded everyone that Qin Guang was actually more dangerous than Ouyang Tianqing. With Qin Guang's current position and ability, if he had any ulterior motives, or if he completely lost control, the consequences he would bring would be even worse than Ouyang Tianqing's. Compared to the potential danger Qin Guang was in, the assassination attempt the night before was insignificant. Firstly, Qin Guang wasn't injured. Although it seemed dangerous last night, there weren't any casualties, and only an insignificant assassin died. Secondly, even if everyone guessed that it was Chao Xingming who did it, it did not matter whether Chao Xingming admitted it or not. Even if it was him, so what? It could even be understood as him getting rid of a scourge for the people. He did something to Qin Guang, but it did not mean that he would do it to others. Jiang Yage was almost implicated, but she had no other choice. Moreover, there was no evidence to prove Chao Xingming's suspicions. Wouldn't it be too unfair to suspect him based on baseless guesses? Although Xiao Chao's temperament had always been somewhat unlikable, he had never made a mistake of principle. As old Chao's son and one of the representatives of the younger generation, he had no reason to collude with Ouyang Tianqing, right? This thought gradually rose in the hearts of many old men, and the atmosphere suddenly became cold. Even Qin Guang felt a trace of coldness. This was their true colors. Without the slightest scheming and honeyed words, who could have walked step by step to where they were today in the seemingly harmonious but actually surging undercurrents in the officialdom and sat on the occasion that more than 1 billion people could only look up to and imagine but never had any chance to see or participate in with their own eyes? Although the people sitting on the table were all old men with 1 nose and 2 eyes, every old man here was someone who could shake the country with a stomp of their feet. Chao Xingming saw that his words were effective and was secretly pleased, but he still looked impassioned and ready to die at any time. Qin Guang felt the doubtful gazes directed at him from all directions. He also realized that he had accidentally been countered by Chao Xingming in front of everyone, Among the old men present, Old Man Jean and Old Man Jiang were slightly better. They had often heard their juniors mention Chen Guang's character and did not believe he was that kind of person. Old Man Lin was in a similar situation, but he could not resist the other old men who were not familiar with Chen Guang. Many of them had listened to Old Man Chao's sophistry, and now that Chao Xingming had exposed them, combined with the various uncooperative attitudes Chen Guang had displayed in the past few days, it was impossible for them not to have any thoughts. The hostility in the meeting room grew stronger and stronger. Chen Guang's brows were tightly knitted together. Damn it, so treacherous. The old man was not in a good situation. There were two choices in front of Chen Guang. First, think of a way to use words to change the situation in this meeting, but it seemed very difficult. Second, a gentleman does not stand under a collapsing wall. He should immediately flee 1,000 miles away, find a place to concentrate on practicing martial arts, collect faith, and break through the cup world. He should wait until he became a god, or at least a demigod who could resist missiles with his body. His palm caressed the heavenly Holy Grail, and his breathing gradually calmed down. He thought to himself, I'm afraid I really have to leave. No, I still have Lady Azure. If I really can't do it, I can beg Lady Azure to help me and use a super hypnosis on Old Man Chao. Dream on. If you have the guts, come into the cup world and beg me to try. I promise I won't beat you to death. Just as he was thinking this, Azure's voice was heard. This was not the end. Dear Cry also expressed, that's right, I'll let you have a taste of the power of a woman's double attack. When I woke up, my leaves were almost all gone. My branches and trunks are all burned off. Chen Guang shuddered. Fine, pretend I didn't think of anything. I almost forgot, it was palm-sized TNT. The cup world would definitely be in a mess. If I went in now, even if I didn't die, I would at least lose a layer of skin. Then I really can only pack up and leave. This is very unpleasant. At this moment, a voice came from the heavenly Holy Grail. It was neither Azure nor Dear Cry. What Chen Guang heard was the emotionless electronic voice of the Holy Grail. Forced PY trading mode's cooldown is over. Redeemer can use it at any time. Chen Guang rejoiced. Oh my god. His skill's cooldown wasn't fixed, and it had come off cooldown at this critical moment. The old man was indeed a man shrouded in the aura of a protagonist. Count yourself lucky. Humph. Azure also noticed this and snorted in Chen Guang's heart. Dear Cry also snorted, that's right. Don't come in here for the rest of your life if you can. Old Master Guang expressed to the two god emperors that the old man was a dead pig that feared no boiling water. He had seen all kinds of storms and waves. He just had to do something to make them happy later to coax them. He should, maybe, probably wouldn't be strangled to death. In short, things suddenly became simple. Chen Guang turned his head and looked at Chao Xingming with a very meaningful look. An extremely strange smile appeared on his face. It couldn't be helped. Old Master Guang couldn't control his joy at the thought of being able to force him into a rather shameless PY trading mode. Well, he could actually control his expression, but he didn't want to. Why bother? If he didn't show off when he should be happy, did he have to wait until he was unlucky before showing off? Chen Guang was overly happy. The strange smile that suddenly appeared on his face even changed the slightly cold atmosphere in the conference room into a horrifying one. What's with that look, little Chin? He's not going to do anything stupid, is he? Old Jiang turned pale with fright. The next moment, he was about to slam the table and stand up. He absolutely couldn't let Chen Guang do something irrecoverable in this place. Even with his current ability, he could subdue everyone here in an instant and then leave. But in this vast wuxia, even if these people in the conference room died, there would be others to replace them. But if he did that, he would become the enemy of the entire country, no, the entire world. Old Jiang himself wasn't afraid. He also knew that Chen Guang wouldn't kill him, old Jean, and old Lin, but the same couldn't be said for the others. That was absolutely not allowed. Not only would he be pressured by the laws and human relationships, but it would also completely turn him onto the evil path and leave an indelible mark in his heart. This was completely different from killing those assassins. A martial artist who was known as the strongest inner force user in history would walk the path of evil. Either he would destroy the world, or the world would destroy him. Old Jean and old Jiang had the same idea. Old Jean moved even faster. He bowed slightly, and in the next moment, he would stand up. Old Lin, who was in the middle, frowned. In his hand was a phone with Lin Jingwei's number on it. The old man didn't know who could stop Chen Guang if he went completely crazy. After thinking about it, he felt that the friendship between his grandson and Chen Guang might be of some use. He secretly regretted trusting him unreservedly and letting him come to this place. If anything happened to anyone here today, it would be a huge disaster. As for those who were already hostile towards Chen Guang, they were even more panicked now. Although there was no recording of Chen Guang's battle with Ouyang Tianqing and the Shadow Alliance's warriors, the scene of him slaughtering dozens of powerful warriors with a wave of his hand was still vividly portrayed in the conference room. Everyone knew that as long as he wanted to make a move, no one could do anything to him. Right now, the ones who were the most afraid were the Chao father and son. Chen Guang might not kill the others, but the two of them would be the first to bear the brunt of it. It would be hard for them to escape death. Chao Jingming retreated as he shouted, "Chen Guang! What are you doing? Chen Guang! Stop!" Old man Jean had already shouted. Old Jiang slammed the table heavily. "Little Chen, don't do anything rash. Don't worry, I'm here, no one can suspect you." Old Lin coughed heavily, his hands pressing down slightly. "Everyone, be quiet. Listen to me." Hearing those words, Chen Guang was briefly stunned. Holy shit, why are these old gentlemen acting as if they're facing a great enemy? Little Chen, calm down. Chao Jingming. Apologize to little Chen now. Immediately. Immediately. Old Lin glared at Chao Jingming. Chao Jingming didn't dare to delay. "I'm sorry, Chen Guang. My words were too harsh. I shouldn't have compared you to Ouyang Tianqing. You guys are different." Old Master Guang finally understood. Alright, the old man thought that he was going to smash the cup as a signal to attack in anger. They were afraid. To this, he could only say, "What the F***ck? Am I that kind of person in your hearts?" Forget it, he couldn't blame them. In their eyes, no, in his eyes, internal strength warriors had ultimate skills. They indeed had the ability to kill in anger. Wasn't there an ancient saying that the so-called heroes were actually more like desperados? If they were unhappy, they would kill a person every 10 steps, leaving no trace behind. In their eyes, he was like a walking killing machine, so it was not strange that they were afraid of him. It was just that it was disgusting. To think that I respected you guys so much, but you guys are guarding against me like a wolf. Chapter 933. Shao Chen, listen to me. Although Ouyang Tianqing has indeed set a bad example for other martial artists, I know that you are completely different from him. Jingwei often talks to me about your brotherhood. In the past, you were also a righteous person. We trusted you because of that. You were just an ordinary youth then. Now, we trust you as well. There is no need for unnecessary suspicions. Chen Guang waved his hand. Grandpa Lin, that's enough. It's said that an innocent man gets into trouble because of his wealth. Now that I have the ability, I am also mentally prepared to face the disadvantages of this ability. I understand now. No wonder Lin Jingwei would rather die than become a politician. He has seen this kind of thing many times since he was young. You don't have to feign civility with me. I won't look down on everyone here because of this. It's just that I thought of something that Lin Jingwei and I mentioned in a casual conversation. Chen Guang pointed at himself first, then at the others. He said word by word, I told Lin Jingwei that we will never become you. I don't want to be this stupid bureau chief. If it wasn't for you guys who couldn't hold back and wanted me to pack up and leave for no reason, I would have quit long ago. What do you take me for? A hothead who is bossed around. When you need me, you let me take over. Alright, I'll take over. Now that Ouyang Tianqing is dead, I have subdued the martial artists in the pugilistic world. You don't need me anymore. You want me to leave immediately. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old kid? I didn't want to say these things out loud. It's fine for everyone to keep it in their hearts. My original intention was only for Chao Xingming to give me an explanation and find a suitable time. You can let whoever you want to take over the Guangding General Bureau. I just want to go and live my carefree life. You treat this power as a treasure. But in my eyes, it's worthless. But what about you guys? Chao Xingming tried to harm me first. But because he is one of us, you let him do as he pleases. What happened to your decisiveness when you dealt with Ouyang Tianqing? Don't talk to me about ridiculous evidence, it's not that important. Last night, he went even further and hired people to kill me, but you're afraid and suspicious of me because of a few words from him? Grandpa Lin, I respect you as Lin Jingwei's grandfather, but that's the extent of my respect for you. You thought I was laughing because I was so angry that I wanted to flip the table. That's why you're saying such polite words. Are you trying to coax me first? Of course, I might not be giving you face by directly exposing you. In the past, even if others had opinions about you, they might not have said it out loud like me. I also wanted to endure it like others, but I found that I couldn't do it. When Chen Guang said these words, his emotions were not very agitated. He was still very calm. He had seen too many deaths in the true martial continent and the Sea of Transient. Especially the 130,000 years he had lived in the true martial continent, even though it did not directly change his personality, the experience of standing at the peak of the world and being worshipped by billions of people still made him think back to the past. Without any warning, he would jump out of his current position and stand on a higher level to look at the situation he was facing. At this moment, he had entered this state without any warning. After saying these words, Chen Guang looked around and saw the changes in everyone's expressions. Then, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly and he said with a hint of mockery, "If what I said made you uncomfortable, then I can only do nothing to help you." Even Chen Guang felt tired for them. In this kind of situation, none of these people's philosophy was the same as his own. Although they looked very inconspicuous here today, when they were outside, they might have enjoyed the pleasure of being surrounded by people. But if you want to mistreat yourself like this for the sake of power, then I'm sorry, but I'm not interested. Many of the old men's faces turned red from his words. No one had ever dared to speak to them like this. Even when they had a falling out with an inner strength martial artist and had a letter placed on their bedside, those people had not been as presumptuous as Chen Guang. But today's situation was extremely delicate. No matter how angry they were, they did not dare to flip the table. No matter how clear this brat's words were, he was still a young man who was not even 21 years old. No one dared to bet on whether his self-control was as good as he said it was. The huge conference room suddenly became silent. Even the drop of a needle could be heard. The guards outside were sweating. They had just received an emergency signal. This kind of signal would only be released when the leaders were in a life-and-death crisis. But the guards did not dare to break the door. They could only anxiously watch Qin Guang talk inside through the monitor. "Isn't this Director Qin?" "This." A guard who had received special training from Qin Guang in darts whispered. The guard captain also sighed, "Don't talk nonsense. Although I also think it's impossible, the leaders will not send the signal for no reason. Don't let your guard down." "I still don't believe it. Chief Instructor Qin is a decent man. He won't act recklessly," another guard said again. The captain looked at his two subordinates, who could be called the elites of the elites, and felt very helpless. He thought to himself, what are the big shots in the room doing? Don't quarrel with your own people. If you have something to say, talk it over slowly. Qin Guang spoke again, "I'll tell you why I laughed just now. I'm happy. Chao Jingming will soon find his conscience and tell us all about the demons and monsters hidden in his heart." Many of the old men in the meeting room were first ridiculed by his words to the point that their faces turned red. They were angry, but there was nothing they could do. However, the last sentence that he said without rhyme or reason made everyone even more confused. Even Chao Jingming, who was called out by name by Qin Guang, was dumbfounded. Is this guy crazy? Is he talking in his sleep? Will I tell them everything? There's no grass growing in my brain. Chao Jingming. Qin Guang, what are you trying to do? Chao Jingming forcibly suppressed his emotions and replied with a pause. With a grin, Qin Guang replied, "Nothing much. Come, be honest and tell me everything that happened between you and Ouyang Tianqing. Also, tell me who that person was last night, how you found that person, and what exactly are you plotting?" Chao Jingming felt like he was going crazy. Who asked questions like that? Do you think I'll answer just because you ask? Are you stupid? Do you think I'm stupid? Chao Jingming's words were almost squeezed out through his teeth. Qin Guang, that's enough. I have nothing to say. I have a clear conscience. Everyone in the conference room was stunned. They looked at each other. What was Qin Guang up to this time? Old man Chao braced himself and stood up. All right, Qin Guang, stop fooling around. Since we've told you everything, and Jingming has apologized to you for what happened before, you, as the current chief of the General Directorate of Guangding, should do your best to continue investigating the remnants of Ouyang Tianqing. Don't worry, we'll get the other departments to cooperate with you. Why don't we end today's meeting here? Old man Chao said what most of the people were thinking. It was time to end the meeting. Due to the deep-rooted impression of him in the past, everyone had almost forgotten that this extremely emotional and slightly neurotic young man was actually the one who killed dozens of people without batting an eyelid or trembling his legs the day before yesterday without batting an eyelid or twitching his legs. Now that they thought about it, they were all a little scared. No matter how much power they only had one life. So, no matter what happened in the future, it was better to end this meeting first and leave first. Then, they could slowly plan for the future. Qin Guang didn't even look at old man Chao. He continued to stare at Chao Jingming and said slowly, "No, you will explain." This time, he didn't waste any more time and shouted in his heart. "Take this. Eat my shady deal." The next moment, the world in front of him suddenly distorted. Chao Jingming, who was standing in front of Qin Guang, also stiffened. His mind was in chaos, and he lost all consciousness without warning. He was forcefully dragged into the duel of words in the forced shady deal by Qin Guang. Forced shady deal. Begin now. The electronic voice of the heavenly Holy Grail played the role of referee. Relying on his master language skill, Qin Guang took the initiative and launched an attack. He shouted loudly, "The sky is round and the earth is square." Golden light burst out of his mouth and blasted straight at Qiao Jingming. Qiao Jingming, who had completely lost his consciousness, was hit by Chen Guang's fallacy attack. He swayed, and the stone platform under him shattered into pieces. He fell down with a rumble. The electronic voice said, "You've caused 25 fallacy damage to the opponent." See two kids debating. Qiao Jingming fought back decisively, and the golden light shot back at Chen Guang. The electronic voice said, "You've received 13 proverb damage." Chen Guang grinned. This guy's level was much better than the waiter at the Tianjin restaurant who had tricked him into paying 100 yuan. "But, you're not good enough. Eat my critical hit." The special skill of Language Master was activated. Chen Guang waved his hand domineeringly and said, "I'm from Hebei province. What a cold winter. I'm so angry. 16,000 yuan. Play with your sister." The electronic voice said, "Critical hit. You've caused 44 empty ear damage to the opponent." As expected of Qiao Jingming, he didn't faint after taking a critical hit. Although the stone platform under him sank a lot, he stood up shakily and replied, "Oh, you're in a hurry, right? Dig Sumida." Chen Guang sneered disdainfully. "You actually want to use empty ear damage to deal with me? But this trick of yours is too old." Sure enough, a notification that he hadn't seen last time appeared in front of him. The opponent used a foreign language empty ear attack to provoke the Language Master, Earth Sauce Exploder and the God of Shady Deal, Savior Chen Guang. Counter activated. Do you want to use counter? F***CK, does my title have to be so long? Chen Guang cursed in his heart as he raised his hand and pointed in the air. Counter successful. Chapter 934. A light shield appeared in front of him, and the golden light that Qiao Jingming roared out was bounced back. You've dealt 10 points of counter-ear damage to the opponent. At this moment, there was a duong sound on Qiao Jingming's side, and a red light surged out of his body. Chen Guang looked up and saw a long groove burning with raging flames on his head. An electronic notification sounded. The opponent is the reckless type, full fury, about to trigger the state of fury. Chen Guang was stunned. There was such a thing. My shady deal was amazing. Qiao Jingming's eyes were bloodshot, and he glared at Chen Guang. Chen Guang was also interested. The furious Qiao Jingming actually made the first move again. It seemed like this reckless type of player had a speed bonus in the state of fury. He just didn't know what he was going to say. Can I say vulgarities? Can't I? That's all I have to say. You've received 15 points of internet slang damage. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. Fine, I thought you had some trump card up your sleeve, but it turns out that you only have this much. It was his turn again, but he wasn't in a hurry to fire. Instead, he communicated with the Holy Grail in his mind, wanting to know what type of shady deal player he was. Reckless, sinister, despicable, shameless, vulgar, wretched, and unyielding super complex type. Old Master Guang was stunned. If you hadn't reminded me, I wouldn't have known I was so complicated. He took a deep breath. Qiao Jingming, die. Damn you. I have a word I don't know if I should say. I'm very strong this time. Invincible at level 16. High-level heavenly fire. Triple quality. I'm going to kill you, you old bald donkey. The sure kill attack he unleashed with all his might was indeed cool. An extremely thick golden light appeared in front of Chen Guang's mouth, but it didn't shoot out immediately. Instead, it kept growing in front of him, turning into a round ball that was spitting out terrifying light. Chen Guang was also puzzled. Why did this big move need to be charged up, and not fired directly? At this moment, the electronic notification sounded again. Warning. Warning. Language Master, Earth Sauce Exploder, and God of Shady Trading Savior, Chen Guang have unleashed a super fatal attack. Too much damage has overflowed and may cause irreparable mental damage to your opponent. Will you attack? Y/N. Hearing those words, Chen Guang's eyes lit up. This reminded him of the weird video he had seen on Bilibili, where Zhuge Liang had a verbal battle with Wang Situ, and Wang Situ had vomited blood and fallen to the ground dead. In ancient times, there was Prime Minister Zhuge who scolded Wang Situ to death and angered the sickly Dr. Zhou. Today, there was Master Guang who scolded Cao Cao's distant descendant Cao Jingming. This was completely reasonable. Verbal violence was terrifying. So let him have a taste. Snapping his fingers, Chen Guang raised his hand and tapped on Y in the air. The golden light in front of him, which had been accumulating power for a long time, suddenly exploded like an energy bomb, blasting straight at Cao Jingming like a railgun. Cao Jingming let out a blood-curdling scream as he fell to the ground vomiting blood. The stone pillar beneath him also shattered with a loud bang. Poor Cao Jingming flew far away on the magma, rolling countless times like he was skipping on water before slowly sinking like a rock. Super fatal attack. You've dealt 178 points of combined damage to the opponent from online slang and fatso's sayings. You've defeated your opponent. Because the damage overflowed as high as 157 points, you've caused irreparable mental damage to your opponent. Remind Savior, a monk must be merciful. The world of shady trading slowly collapsed, and the world in front of Chen Guang distorted again. In the blink of an eye, he was back in the real world. However, he disapproved of the heavenly Holy Grail's last words. Ba ba ba, what do you mean a monk must be merciful? Which eye of yours saw me become a monk? He looked up at Cao Jingming, not knowing what this guy's irreparable mental damage looked like. Cao Jingming was stunned at first, completely unaware of what had happened. He just stared blankly at Chen Guang. Without any warning, he suddenly felt extremely remorseful. What's wrong with me? Why do I feel so guilty? I feel terrible hiding things in my heart. I've let my father down, I've let down the leaders' nurturing and trust, I've let down the country and the people, and I've let down myself. I've let down Chen Guang even more. No, I've let down the entire world. A person like me actually has the face to live so shamelessly in this world, I'm really sorry. The shady trading that took place in the heavenly Holy Grail may have taken a long time to describe, but in the real world, it probably only took less than a microsecond. The old men in the meeting room did not know whether to laugh or cry at Chen Guang's unreasonable request to Cao Jingming, but they were also angry and unhappy because of his long speech earlier. But suddenly, Cao Jingming, who had been blushing under Chen Guang's interrogation and looked as if he had been greatly wronged, changed his expression. He actually lowered his head slightly, not daring to look into Chen Guang's eyes. What's wrong with Cao Jingming? The atmosphere in the room suddenly became extremely strange. Old man Cao was about to speak when he announced the end of the meeting, and everyone left. I'm sorry. Cao Jingming suddenly roared out loud. Many old men suddenly looked confused. What's wrong with little Cao? That's right. I deliberately told that little girl Jiang Yage that the Lord of the Wen family appeared at the border of Yinxia province and Ninghai province, just to let her leak this news to Chen Guang. I just wanted to cooperate with the strategy of Ouyang Alliance leader, Mr. Ying. I want to lead Chen Guang and the Lord of the Wen family to Ninghai province. Cao Jingming's words caused an uproar in the meeting room. What the hell is going on? Xingming. Are you crazy? Don't talk nonsense. Old Man Chow jumped up from his chair and rushed to Chao Jingming, trying to stop him. Bang! Chao Jingming hit his old man's face with a backhand fist, making Old Man Chow's nose bleed, and he fell on his back. No one can stop me from confessing. Chao Jingming roared angrily. What does he mean? Old Man Jiang was also startled by Chao Jingming's sudden frankness. The change was so sudden that he didn't have time to react. Old Man Jean was also digging his ears with a face full of astonishment. He thought he had misheard. Chen Guang, who had seen through everything, pretended to be in disbelief. My God, did you find your conscience? Don't look down on me. I, Chao Jingming, will never change my name. Since I did it, of course I will admit it. Shut up. Shut your mouth. Old Man Chow got up from the ground again and rushed to Chao Jingming. But he was punched in the face by Chao Jingming again, and fell to the ground. Everyone in the conference room was dumbfounded by the situation. Old Man Chow's mouth was full of blood, and his hair was disheveled. He looked miserable. But no one tried to help him, and no one thought of stopping Chao Jingming. It wasn't that they were cold-blooded, but it happened too fast, and the situation took a turn for the worse. No one was prepared for it. Even the old masters, who were used to seeing great storms and waves, had never encountered such an unimaginable thing. Last night, I did ask someone to kill Chen Guang. The executor was Lyman Hart, a powerful assassin. I paid him $20 million at first, and then to let him detonate the bomb in advance, I added another $50 million and paid him an advance of $20 million. The person in charge of the payment was Song Yuan, the chairman of the Overseas Department of Pagoda Corporation. To ensure the success of the operation, I gave him a sample armor-piercing bullet with no code that I stole from the R&D lab. At this time, Chao Jingming was shrouded in righteousness, and he continued to speak in a loud and sonorous voice. It was as if he was not talking about his own sins, but asking for credit from others. Old Man Chow slumped to the ground. Looking at his impassioned son, who was full of excitement, and his eyes were shining, his heart was cold. Crazy, completely crazy. You. Why did you do this? Although Old Man Jean had been suspicious of Chao Jingming, he still couldn't help but question him when he heard it from his own mouth. Old Man Jiang had already jumped up and was about to slap Chao Jingming's face. Bastard! I'll kill you! Old Man Jean saw that Chao Jingming had even hit his father, so he quickly pulled Old Man Jiang back, and it took him a lot of effort to stop him. Old Man Lin, who was in the middle, frowned. Others could lose control in such a situation, but he couldn't. He had to be more composed than everyone else. He coughed twice to get everyone's attention, and then he knocked on the table. All right, quiet down. Sit down, and help Old Man Chow up. Let him sit properly. Old Man Chow was helped to a chair by two people beside him, but he wanted to get up to look for Chao Jingming. The old man in the middle waved his hand again. Old Man Chow, sit properly. But Old Man Chow wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and wanted to explain. No buts. Do you want to be beaten to death by your son here? The old man in the middle glared at him. Old Man Chow knew that it was useless to say anything now, so he sat down dejectedly. Little Chow, do you understand what you just said? Old Man Chow finally settled down, and the old man in the middle looked at Chao Jingming and asked. Chao Jingming nodded. Of course. I'm very clear-headed. I know what I'm saying, and I'm telling the truth. If I'm lying, I, Chao Jing, will be struck by lightning tomorrow and die a horrible death. Do you have to swear on something like this? Although almost no one in the room believed in the so-called oath, the whole thing itself was strange enough. If you don't believe me, you can check the material list of the Military Research Institute for this year's March. Compared with the previous data, you can see that the core material used in March was exactly 1 bullet more than usual. The person who helped me hide the armor-piercing bullet was senior researcher Chi Jimin. Everyone was dumbfounded again. You really told us everything. Why did you do this? What are you after? If what Chao Jingming said was true, then basically all the evidence and witnesses were present. The old man in the middle suppressed his anger and asked in a low voice. Many of the old men in the room stared at Chao Jingming's face. Everyone wanted to know what was going on. Chen Guang, on the other hand, leaned back in his chair and crossed his arms, looking very calm. Chapter 935. Facing everyone's shocked expressions and gazes, Chao Jingming did not feel that there was anything wrong with what he said. At that moment, he was as proud as a primary school student giving a speech on Children's Day. He looked at the old man in the middle with a faint smile. There's no special reason. Ouyang Tianqing visited me personally before. He can come and go as he pleases in the heavily guarded compound. I'm afraid of death. The human skin masks found in the Shadow Alliance's base were made with my help. I was Ouyang Tianqing's highest level informant from the beginning. My father is also well aware of this matter. There's still the slow-acting poison antidote that Ouyang Tianqing gave me in my home, but there's not much left. I don't have much time to live anyway. I decided to kill Chen Guang for 2 reasons. First, to vent my anger. Second, because he was unwilling to forgive me. There's no special reason. I've done similar things many times in the past. Alright, I'm done. Chao Jingming looked at everyone with a smile. His expression seemed to be saying, hurry up and praise me, hurry up and praise me. Old man Chao was so weak that he almost slid off his chair. It's over, it's all over now. As for the other old men, the expressions on their faces changed from confusion to skepticism, and finally, uncontrollable rage. Chen Guang was dumbfounded by the entire process. Holy **T, the power of forced PY transactions is a little too strong. Chao Jingming did not know what he was saying at all. No, he knew. He understood it completely. He was very clear-headed now. However, his outlook on life and the world had been completely distorted. In his heart, what he said was not a bad thing, but glory and achievements. The desire to talk that was forced into him through PY transactions forced him to talk about these glorious deeds. At that moment, he was like someone who was born with no sense of pain. His fingers were about to be chopped into pieces, but he was still smiling. Chen Guang thought to himself, thank goodness I never have to be my enemy. How pitiful. All the old men, whether they were on old man Chao's side or not, were now completely enraged. No wonder there had been leaks when they tried to deal with the Special Affairs Bureau in the past. Ouyang Tianqing's spies had already been planted around them. Even Elder Chao, who had fought alongside him for many years, had indirectly become Ouyang Tianqing's subordinate. In addition, when the matter of the human skin mask was first brought to everyone's desk, the bloody reality of tens of thousands of lives also made many elders furious. He had never imagined that Chao Jingming would be involved in this matter. Bastard! Shame! This was simply a disgrace. Old Chao, you taught your son well. Unforgivable. Too many to count. In the middle of the room, old Lin was already an old man. He was so angry that his hands were shaking and his lips were blue. He couldn't speak for a long time. After a long time, he finally said, send this father and son pair to the military court. As soon as his voice fell, old man Chao, who had been beaten black and blue by Chao Jingming, felt as if 5 bolts of lightning had struck his heart. He knew that not only would he not be able to protect his son, but he would also be unable to protect his chastity in his old age. His eyes rolled back and he fainted. Old Chow. Old Chow fainted. Although Old Man Chow was despicable, he had many old friends in the room. The people around him immediately exclaimed. Seeing this, Chow Xingming grinned. Ha 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 ha. Great. Great. Your father fainted because of you, and you still have the cheek to laugh. Are you crazy? Old Man Chow's best friend, another old man, pointed at Chow Xingming, who wanted to destroy the entire Chow family, and scolded him angrily. Unexpectedly, Chow Xingming was completely oblivious to his scolding. After laughing, he tilted his head and looked at them, still grinning foolishly. Was he really crazy? Everyone in the meeting room was stunned at first, then they were all speechless. All of this was too strange, and it was truly inconceivable. Chen Guang knew this very well. Right, this was the indelible mental damage mentioned by the Heavenly Holy Grail. It turned out that Chow Xingming had gone crazy. In the forced PY trading mode, full HP was 100 points. His last critical hit had overflowed to 157 points, which seemed to be too much. Forget it, Chow Xingming didn't deserve any sympathy. He brought this upon himself. He deserved it. Chen Guang couldn't be bothered to watch the farce in the meeting room anymore. He stood up and greeted the 2 old men, then, it seems that there's nothing else for me to do. I'll take my leave first. Little Chen, why did he do this? Old Man Jean looked at Chow Xingming first, then turned to look at Chen Guang suspiciously. His intuition told him that Chen Guang was behind this. Chen Guang shrugged. God knows. Maybe he did too many bad things, and his conscience suddenly awakened. He was too ashamed, so he went crazy. Impossible. Old Man Jiang interrupted. However, Chen Guang pretended to be crazy. Grandpa Jiang, what do you think the reason is? I glared at him, and he went crazy. Then I'm not an internal force martial artist anymore. I'm a god, okay. The 2 old men looked at each other in dismay. Chen Guang didn't waste time with them. He looked at the other old men who were in a mess, and Lin Jingwei's grandfather who was so angry that his lips were black and his face was pale. He didn't want to care at first, but he remembered Lin Jingwei's friendship, so he walked up and lightly patted the old man's shoulder. He transferred some of his inner strength into the old man's body, allowing him to breathe more easily. Old Man Lin took 2 deep breaths, and his expression softened. He looked up at Chen Guang beside him. Thank you. Chen Guang waved his hand indifferently. No need. I'm doing this for Lin Jingwei's sake. By the way, there's one more thing. I'm quitting. I don't want to be the director anymore. No. We don't mean that. We still need you for this job. Old Man Lin got up and said very quickly. He wasn't pretending this time. He really felt that after thinking about it, Chen Guang, who didn't pursue power, was more suitable for the position of the director of the Guangdong General Administration. Even if he was a little unruly, it made him appear more scheming and reassuring. It was a pity that once the cracks appeared, it would be difficult to heal them. Especially since Chen Guang was known for being narrow-minded. You made me unhappy, and you want me to work for you. I've been the director for so long, and I haven't taken much advantage of you. I haven't even received a lot of salary. Now, I'm even under your suspicion. I'm tired and unlikable. The old man's wish has been fulfilled today, and he has to quit. Chen Guang waved his hand. Grandpa Lin, I won't say much. I've made up my mind. From now on, even if the sky of the Guangdong General Administration falls, it has nothing to do with me. You can let whoever you want to take over this mess. Don't expect that you won't be able to control it later. Ask me to step in. I'm not that despicable. Also, you don't have to worry about me using my power to do things like Ouyang-Chinching. Today, you felt that the Guangding General Administration might need me, so you asked me to stay. Later, when those inner force martial artists completely obey the law and become part of the system, you'll still think that I'm trouble. I can't play this game of yours. I won't accompany you anymore. Bye. With that, Chen Guang turned around and left. He opened the door of the conference room and grinned at the guards outside who were shocked by the surveillance footage. Then, he strode out of the courtyard with his head held high and went straight into the distance. Relieved of the burden in his heart, he walked with a carefree and unrestrained manner. Even the little ham's steps were lighter, and his body was almost floating. As the saying went, leave with a brush of the robe, hide your achievements and fame, generally referred to his current state. Old Man Lin and Jin Jiang, the two old men beside him, stared at his back in the distance. Their ears were still ringing with the chaos of the conference room, and for a moment, they couldn't say a single word. These people who knew a little about Chen Guang clearly sensed an inexplicable carefreeness in his steps. He really wasn't lying. From the beginning, no one knew him. The power that everyone in the world coveted was not even comparable to a cup of dung in his eyes. Thinking again about what he had said today, the old men blushed with shame. How embarrassing. Old Man Lin squeezed out this sentence. Old Man Jiang sighed. I'm not as good as little Chin. Old Man Jin's face flushed red. Perhaps it's precisely because of his carefree attitude that he was able to become a grandmaster at such a young age. Old Man Jiang said again, but what if the other inner force martial artists in the general administration really don't want to submit? These people are more rebellious than we think. Old Man Lin, on the other hand, had thought things through. Forget it. From now on, the headquarters will not have a director. We'll let the two young girls continue to be in charge. Those two girls have a close relationship with Chen Guang. Even if others don't give them face, they'll still have to give some face to the spokesperson of the Wulin Alliance. Old Man Jiang nodded slightly. That's true. On the other side, Chao Xingming was still giggling, and saliva dripped from the corner of his mouth. Whether he was really crazy or pretending to be crazy, he couldn't escape the trial. Based on the evidence and testimonies that he had mentioned just now, everything he had done would be exposed as soon as they followed the clues and followed them all the way to the melon. As a senior leader, Old Man Chao couldn't escape the crime of covering up and harboring a criminal. Walking out of the courtyard, Chen Guang stretched and took a deep breath of the fresh air outside, feeling refreshed. He had finally seen through everything. Even if Chao Xingming confessed to all the crimes in the end and proved his innocence, and the father and son of the Chao family were destined to be executed. But after such a torment, those old men should also understand that he was not a chess piece that they could control. If he continued to sit in that position, the end result would probably be to continue to be suspicious. In the future, he would have to find ways to deal with them and fight with them. Although he could be invincible, and it wouldn't be difficult for him to replace them one day in the future. But wasn't it boring? Humans only have one life, and plants only have one spring. Why not do something that you really like and are interested in, so that you can live a more leisurely and comfortable life? Why do you have to sharpen your head and plunge into that dirty, rotten swamp? Even if you can get out of the swamp, sit on the throne in the swamp, and grasp the power, so what? Can you live one more year? Can you fight against time and death if you become the leader? Thinking of their lives, Chen Guang felt tired for them. It looked glamorous, but how was it comfortable? It wasn't easy for him to get this stinky body, and now he had sought refuge with the Emperor of the Azure from the endless divine realm. He should have spent more time on the heavenly Holy Grail. He looked up at the blue sky and white clouds above his head. If it weren't for the fact that he didn't want to be too shocking, he would have looked up to the sky and roared. If this place doesn't keep me, I'll roam the world. From now on, I'll just focus on cultivating my path to godhood and saving my sister Lioli. Why would I care about your schemes? Chapter 936. After some commotion in the conference room, the father and son of the Chao family were finally taken away. He didn't know if Chao Jingming was really crazy or just pretending to be crazy, but he was still arrested at the first moment. Naturally, he was investigated from the beginning to the end. Old Chao fainted and was immediately sent to the neighboring medical institution. But according to the doctor's report, the situation was not optimistic. Old Chao was so angry that his blood rushed to his head. He was not young to begin with and had high blood pressure. After the rush, he showed signs of a cerebral hemorrhage when he fainted. Who knew if there would be a more serious aftereffects from this seemingly simple fainting? Although they had finally caught the mole, the other old men in the conference room did not feel very happy. Especially after Chen Guang resigned before leaving, they were all dumbfounded. They felt that they were particularly ridiculous. They had tried to get rid of Chen Guang previously, but they did not expect him to abandon his position as the bureau chief. Everyone then realized that Chen Guang had made up his mind from the beginning to deal with the father and son of the Chao family and leave freely. He would then live a carefree life in the future. But the more carefree he appeared, the more the old men in the conference room felt their hearts clench. How embarrassing. Chen Guang expressed that he did not care how those old men felt. After coming out, he had wanted to call the Guangdong General Administration staff in Beijing to pick him up. But then he thought about it and changed his mind. Although there was no such thing as a seal today, since he was going to resign, he had to be more decisive. Therefore, he simply refused Secretary Chu's offer to arrange a car for him. He stood at the gate of the Nanhai Villa district, and under the dumbfounded gazes of the guards and Secretary Chu, he took out his phone and made an online taxi booking. Then, under the fearful gaze of the online hailing taxi driver, he sat down. Sir, Shishan Villa district. The poor driver was scared out of his wits. My brother. Can you not take a taxi here next time? My hands were a little too dirty just now, and I almost peed my pants on the way here. Chen Guang laughed. What's there to be nervous about? Aren't the people in here also human? You can't say that. They're all humans, but the people living here aren't ordinary people. Let me tell you, on my way here, there were at least 17 or 18 barbets aimed at my head, do you believe me? It's just that I've rejected too many orders recently. If I unilaterally cancel your order, the transaction rate will fall below 50%. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come here even if I was beaten to death. I'm telling you, there isn't a single good person here. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. He had long heard that the taxi drivers in Yanjing were reasonable, but he didn't expect that the drivers of online car-hailing cars were not that bad. After talking for a long time, the driver thought that Chen Guang would be able to chat with him, but after waiting for a long time, he didn't hear anything from the back. The atmosphere seemed a little cold. The driver kept muttering to himself. Wait. Something was wrong. This young man had just come out from there. When he left, many people even saluted him. The middle-aged man who looked like a leader was bowing and scraping to him. Damn. He's a big shot. I just told him that there isn't a single good person here. Damn, I'm causing trouble from my mouth. That, brother, I don't mean anything else. Actually, if it weren't for you, our country wouldn't be so developed now. The driver hurriedly tried to salvage the situation. Chen Guang saw that he was scared. It's okay. You don't have to explain to me. You're right. There isn't a single good person here. After that, he ignored the driver and started to play with his phone. He opened his Weibo account. Recently, he didn't have any news outside, and the company's operations team didn't update anything new. The latest content was related to the World's Language Club. The comments section below his Weibo account was filled with fans' comments. Most of them were asking him where he had been recently and why there was no news from him. For example, "Brother All-Rounder, we miss you so much. You can always update your Weibo and say something. Brother All-Rounder is filming recently, right? Isn't the filming for Heroine already started? The one above, stop talking. I heard from my friends who work at Film City that they didn't even see Brother All-Rounder at all. That can't be, right? He's the male lead. The filming has already started, and he doesn't even go to the set. The director is Deng Xiaojiang, who's famous for being harsh. The die-hard fans above, you should wake up. Your Brother All-Rounder has become too arrogant. He has no artistic ethics. Get lost, damn haters. What right do you have to say that? What right do I have to say that? Have you forgotten? He's not only the male lead, he's also an investor. He invested 120 million. Not to mention the director is Deng Xiaojiang, no one can do anything to him. Who can do anything to the boss? From what I see, he's probably using a stunt double the entire time. At most, he'll shoot a few close-up shots of his face. Isn't that the trend among the little fresh meats recently? Just wait and see. This is still filming in Film City. When it's time to shoot the outdoor scenes, I promise to show you the entire process. That can't be, right? That's his own money. How can he waste it like that? So what if it's his own money? In any case, he has you die-hard fans supporting him, right? When the time comes, no matter how bad the filming is, he's still a celebrity. You die-hard fans will still pay for him, okay? That's right. Chen Guang doesn't have any acting skills to begin with. He's not a professional actor either. He's just relying on his money, power, and fame. He doesn't take his filming seriously and has no professionalism. No one can do anything about it. I just pity Big Beard Deng and the other main leads. From what I see, it's not that he doesn't want to do the filming, but he doesn't have the skills to do it. He has no choice but to use a stunt double. Who knows, maybe even a stunt double can act better than him. That's enough. It's normal to use stunt doubles for TV series, but this is a blockbuster movie. It's going to be on the big screen. You can even use stunt doubles like that. Aren't you afraid of being exposed and getting scolded to death? Anyway, there are die-hard fans paying for it. He just wants to make money. What's important is to make money. Who cares if the movie is good or not? Why don't you use your brains and think about it? He's been doing so many things in the past. Other than acting in a few commercials, what else has he done that has anything to do with acting? I don't believe that he has the time to learn acting either. Acting in a blockbuster movie isn't something that you're born with. In any case, I won't go to the cinema. I don't want to suffer from embarrassment. That's right. He's taken the majority of the movie's profits. Now that he's famous, he's thinking of cashing in on his fame. What's the difference between him and those idols who only know how to take a huge sum of money but start counting it the moment they step out of the neighborhood? No, he has no bottom line, alright. Bad money drives out good money. Nowadays, anyone can act just because they have a bit of fame. What's more, they're the male lead of a blockbuster movie the moment they arrive. This is simply the tragedy of this era. Although I think that a lot of the haters are right and makes sense, this atmosphere is a little familiar. In the past, no matter what he did, there were still a lot of people who analyzed it logically. This time, Brother All-Rounder is going to kneel, Brother All-Rounder is going to be done for, Brother All-Rounder is going to be too pretentious. But in the end, the people who criticized him were slapped in the face so badly every time. I'm a veteran hater-turned-fan. Because of this, I've suffered a lot. This time, I won't be fooled no matter what you say. You don't know, but I made a bet with my classmate. I said that if he doesn't kneel, he'll eat 3 pounds of sh*t. That group of beasts really mixed sh*t into my curry beef rice. I don't care. I believe him. The old driver, Brother All-Rounder, never fails. Retarded, brain-dead fan. In your eyes, even the skin of his feet is fragrant. Retarded haters, don't just F***king hate. If you have the guts, come and bet. If he doesn't fail, do you dare to broadcast yourself eating 3 pounds of sh*t? Let's bet. Previous poster, save it. In the past, there were so many people who said the same thing as you that I can't even count. If you really do it, our Wujing City's septic tank will be empty. Chen Guang casually swept through the comments section and saw that these people were in a heated discussion. Honestly speaking, he had been too busy recently. The things he was involved in were too high-end, so he didn't give Brother Yang a chance to pester him. As a result, he had almost completely forgotten about the filming. As for why Uncle Big Beard didn't call him to hurry up the male lead, it was likely that Jiang Yage and Jin Shiriwa had leaked some information to him. Uncle Big Beard might not be aware of his identity as the director of the Guangdong General Headquarters, but he should be aware of the fact that his status was extraordinary. However, the netizens were really going a little too far. In the past year, there had been incidents like Miss Numbers, Mr. Numbers, Masked Knight, and the cutout duo that had sullied the reputations of male idols and popular female celebrities. He had accidentally been classified as one of those people and had become a scapegoat for those people. Are you kidding me? I'm the best actor in history. Is every frown and smile of the old man a good actor? He's going to make you guys doubt your own life. That's right, I'm not born with acting skills, but do you know how much I've suffered and how much cruel training I've gone through to get my acting skills? I'm the most dedicated actor. How many times have I exploded on the spot just to learn acting skills? No one has ever worked so hard to learn acting skills like me. No, I'm really going to die, alright. Looking at the few diehard haters who were slandering him in the comments section, Chen Guang really wanted to beat them to death. To be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that he knew that no matter how careless he looked right now, he would be able to instantly get into character and give a perfect performance in front of the camera, Chen Guang would have been convinced by those haters in the comments section. No, I have to do something. If I allow this matter to continue brewing and the public boycotts my movie, the box office might collapse. It'll be a small matter if I lose money, but my reputation will be ruined. It'll be difficult for me to make a comeback and have people acknowledge my acting skills. Acting skills were much more subjective and difficult to quantify than playing the piano. There were 1,000 Hamlets in 1,000 people's eyes. If you can't show an irrefutable and dominant performance, no matter how good your acting is, you won't be able to convince everyone. In other words, even if Chen Guang really played a role perfectly, if he had been slandered before, he would have to work hard step by step if he wanted to prove himself. Just like Lil Lee in the past. When he first debuted, he was labeled as a little fresh meat and an idol because he was too handsome. Later, no matter how good his acting was, he could only be a bystander in the Oscars. In order to get an Oscar, he tortured himself to the point where he could only get what he wanted once he was middle-aged. There were still so many worlds in a cup waiting to be explored, and so many statues waiting to be erected. Chen Guang didn't have the leisure and time to torture himself with one movie every year until he was in his 30s or 40s. Although he didn't have to rely on women to establish a statue of acting skills overnight, at least he couldn't destroy his own reputation because of this. Therefore, no matter what, he couldn't continue to let the netizens continue to criticize him like this. After getting out of the car, he walked to the security gate of the Shishan villas while thinking about how to turn the tide of public opinion. Chapter 937. The cycle of shooting a movie can be as long as a month or two, or as long as a few years. Big Beard Deng can't shoot a movie fast, and he strives for perfection. After the scenes are finished, he still has to work on the post-production. It is estimated that it will take at least half a year for the movie to be released. At that time, the public opinion of criticizing his acting skills on the internet will become a wind vane, and it will be politically correct to unite to boycott women. It is hard to guarantee that the worst situation will not happen. That is, others may not go to the cinema to watch the film, but regardless of the consequences, they will first criticize him on the internet and in the circle of life, and they will also collect the negative information on the internet and criticize him logically. At that time, no matter how the people who have watched the film in the cinema or the people who have watched the film on the internet help him, they may not be able to change the preconceived ideas of others. Chen Guang is still thinking about it when he walks to the Zhang's villa and sees Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. As for the unpleasantness that happened in the Nanhai Sea before, after he just resigned from the general administration of Guangding, he should feel the melancholy of someone walking in front of the cold tea door. Sorry, he doesn't feel this kind of emotion at all. If today is not the Spring Festival, he even wants to buy a roll of 10,000 firecrackers to celebrate this big news. You look a little absent-minded. I heard from Grandpa that you have resigned, and I thought you were really as free and easy as you pretend to be in front of them. It turns out that you still care about them. Jiang Yage's mental state is not very good at the moment, but she can't show it in front of Jin Shiyue. She grits her teeth and asks Chen Guang to sit down, and she goes to pour water. Chen Guang looks at her awkward appearance when she walks and feels very embarrassed. He wants to help her, but she doesn't want to. On the way here, Jiang Yage has told him that he must not let Jin Shiyue know what happened between them last night, or she will hang herself. Yage, just sit down. If you sprain your waist, you should behave yourself, or it will take a few days to get better. Jin Shiyue gets up and presses Jiang Yage back to the sofa, and gets up to pour water. I'll do it myself. All of you, sit tight. Chen Guang took out the cup that he carried with him everywhere he went. Today, he was soaking in bamboo green tea. As he added water, he said, I didn't even think about the Guangding headquarters. I'm having a headache about something else. You really don't want to work? What could be more important than this? Jiang Yage asked curiously. Chen Guang snorted. Of course. Being an official is so boring. So boring. Then what is it that can give you a headache? Jin Shiyue looked at him with interest. Chen Guang blushed. I browsed Weibo for a while on the way here. Recently, I've been scolded quite badly online. Are you talking about the movie? My God, you still remember it. We all thought you had forgotten all about it. You don't know, but Big Beard is almost crying. He keeps asking us when we can tie you up and show your face on the set. Jiang Yage said grumpily. Jin Shiyue also said, Director Deng has been under a lot of pressure recently. On one hand, you, the male lead, are not present from the beginning to the end, and he has to rehearse properly. On the other hand, he has to deal with the limelight on the internet. He is also afraid of ruining his own reputation. Recently, he has been saying that if he knew it would be like this, he would not have accepted the role in the first place. He is so worried that his beard has turned white. Chen Guang imagined Uncle Big Beard's beard turning white in his mind, and he felt sorry for him for 3 seconds. Forget it, I'll feel sorry for myself first. I also feel that it's not a good idea to always be slandered like this. Money is a small matter, but reputation is important. But I can't think of any ideas on how to turn the limelight around. After all, filming is not something that can be done overnight. It will take a few months to see the results. By that time, I'm afraid I will have been slandered like Lord Bao. Jean Shuya pondered and said, why don't we go to the set today instead of choosing a day? Anyway, Uncle Chow has already been convicted, so there shouldn't be any danger. Chen Guang thought about it and felt that it was reasonable. Okay, we'll go later. If you want to go, you two go. I don't want to move now. Ouch, my waist. Jiang Yage pretended to rub her waist. Chen Guang exchanged a look with her, which was basically asking her with his eyes, are you okay? Jiang Yage silently made an okay expression, which was her reply to Chen Guang, I'm fine, don't worry about me. Then she flew her eyes to the porcelain cup on the table in the distance. Chen Guang smelled a medicinal fragrance. This should be the nourishing chicken soup made by the servants at home. It was called nourishing yin and kidney. Jean Shuya had no idea that Chen Guang and Jiang Yage had communicated 10,000 thoughts behind her back. At this time, she was helping Chen Guang think about the online comments. Recently, she had been staying at the set all day, so she was the clearest about the direction of this matter. In the past, Chen Guang did not mention it, nor did he care, so she did not say much. Since he brought it up when they met today, she had to help think of a solution. Jean Shuya analyzed with a frown, but this is ultimately a solution that doesn't solve the root of the problem. Director Deng's recent schedule has already been written to next week, and the other actors have already been arranged. Your scenes will be next month at the earliest, so it's not convenient to rush your scenes at the last minute. Even if you go to the set, it doesn't seem to be of much use. At most, it can make Director Deng feel a little more at ease. Chen Guang nodded and asked, then other than acting in a movie, what else can I do to prove my acting skills? Jiang Yage said, acting skills. Drama. Most of the truly good actors can act in plays. Sister Shuya and I have also acted in plays for a period of time in the past. That kind of live performance on stage is completely different from acting in front of a camera. It's especially challenging. Wait, what did you say just now? You want to prove your acting skills? Jean Shuya said, don't joke around. Acting in a drama is completely different from acting in a movie. Chen Guang can't do it. Jiang Yage nodded. That's right, that's right. Unexpectedly, Chen Guang's eyes were getting brighter and brighter. What the hell is going on in your head? Please don't say. Jiang Yage started to panic. Chen Guang stood up and said, that's right. I want to act in a drama. He had almost forgotten about it. What was he best at? He was the best content provider. Now, whether it was himself or Tianguang manager, they both had ample experience in organizing live events. Since drama was the best test of acting skills, and there was no trouble in post-production, then he could organize a live drama just like how he organized the International Throne Challenge or the Piano Joint Performance. This kind of short, fast, and effective project was what he liked the most and was best at. Jean Shuya and Jiang Yage's jaws dropped as they looked at him, dumbfounded. Obviously, this guy wasn't talking nonsense. He was serious. This isn't a good idea. Jean Shuya pinched the hem of her casual shirt as she imagined Chen Guang performing a drama on stage. Goosebumps appeared all over her body. Jiang Yage also said anxiously, I was just saying. Don't take it seriously. Chen Guang didn't care about their shocked expressions. He clenched his fists excitedly and started pacing around the room. I'll start planning now. With my company's efficiency, it should be done by next week. The venue should be in Wujing. After all, I haven't been to school for a long time. Planning and publicity aren't important. After all, no matter how big the theater is, there are only a few tickets. We can't make the theater too big. What's important is the publicity and live broadcast on TV. Let Little Tsong handle the live broadcast. Let's not care about the live broadcast for now. We'll sell it to whoever offers the highest price. Then the question is, what should I perform? I have to think about it. I can't be the only actor in a play. It's best to choose a play that's representative. It's best if there are many people who can perform it. It'll be easier to find supporting roles. Jiang Yage and Jin Shuyue stared blankly at Chen Guang as he walked around the living room and muttered to himself. This guy was completely in character. Suddenly, Chen Guang turned around and looked at the two of them with glowing eyes. He asked, "What's the most popular play?" Jiang Yage answered, "Thunderstorm." Chen Guang clapped his hands. Good. Let's perform Thunderstorm. That's crazy. Jin Shuyue's face turned pale. Don't mess around. What do you think a play is? A children's art show. Do you know what the status of Thunderstorm is in the world of plays? There are thousands of actors in the country, and at least 30% of them have performed before. Do you think it's easy to perform when there are more actors? The more actors who have performed Thunderstorm, the more people will compare you to them. Even a small flaw will be magnified infinitely. Moreover, you've done some commercials before. Yes, you did a good job when you guest starred in Country and Throne, but you had to pressure director Deng for an entire afternoon to get that 30-second scene. Wake up. Jiang Yage also nodded. That's right. My dear Guang, even though you're a little famous now, you can't insult it like this, right? Chen Guang stood proudly and smiled. You're looking down on me, aren't you? But I don't blame you. I'm used to it. I can only tell you that a play is a piece of cake for me. Then, under their dumbfounded gazes, he called LV Xiaoyang, the butt face. Xiao Lu, I've got a new idea recently. Oh, President Qin, please speak. Previously, Chen Guang had casually promised him 100,000 yuan in cash. Comrade Xiao Lu had probably used this money to buy a house. The moment he opened his mouth, he was being considerate and respectful to his boss. I want to perform in a play. Get old Yu and old Fong to help me prepare. I'll perform in the 5 capitals as soon as possible. It's best if it's within the next week. Lu Xiaoyang, this master is messing around again. Don't. Do you know about Thunderstorm? It's that famous play. Quickly help me find actors. Money is not a problem. Anyway, we can only use high prices to hire actors. They must be experienced actors and not young actors. It doesn't matter if they're famous or not. But they must have high standards. Only then can they serve as a foil to me. Chen Guang did not wait for Comrade Xiao Lu to reply. He hung up and snapped his fingers. Done. Jin Shuyue and Jiang Yage were completely speechless. It was like they had seen a ghost. Chen Guang could no longer be called arrogance. He was simply exploding on the spot. Chapter 938. Chen Guang settled the matter with just a few words over the phone. He couldn't care less about what would happen to the people in the company because of what he said. As the saying went, one must be loyal to the ruler. This was the current situation. Because he had to collect faith points, he was destined to do things as he pleased. It would be especially tiring for others to work for him. When he was free, he might have to dawdle for days. When he was busy, it would be like this. With a single order, the entire company would have to move. Before the entire project was completed, they would not be able to rest. Because of this, Chen Guang never treated the company's middle management poorly. People like Yu Hong, Fang Tianyu, Su Li, and Lu Xiaoyang all had annual salaries of more than 200,000 yuan. Yu Hong, who had returned from overseas to host work, had an annual salary of 500,000 yuan. Adding on the bonuses that Chen Guang would occasionally give out, he estimated that his annual salary would not be less than 1,000,000 yuan. It was not the end of the fiscal year yet. When it was New Year, Chen Guang planned to give out a huge year-end bonus. He was not careless about giving out bonuses for competitions, and he was even more careless about giving out salaries to his own people. Anyway, he was so poor that he only had money left. When the time came, Yu Hong's income would only be higher than when he was overseas. In addition, Yu Hong was a high-ranking employee of the Tang Jie Foundation. Although his personnel had been transferred, he should still have an annual salary similar to that of a consultant in the Tang Jie Foundation. Although the boss, Chen Guang, was always unreliable, every time he did something unreliable, he would make a lot of money for the company. Chen Guang also never criticized their work. Although they were quite tired of serving him, the work for the past few months had been quite comfortable. Anyone who used a good boss in China would know. The biggest advantage of following a boss who could become famous all over the country, no, all over the world, was that he didn't have to worry. Anyway, he wasn't afraid of losing money, and he wouldn't lose money. The biggest disadvantage was that it was troublesome. Anyway, no matter what he did, he could make a big deal out of a small matter. He could also make a big scene out of a small matter. Every time he did it, he would scare people. It was the same this time. In Beijing, Chen Guang had his eyes on Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. "Are the two of you interested in acting with me?" The two of them shook their heads like a rattle drum. They couldn't afford to lose face. Jin Shiyue was even a little angry. She felt that Chen Guang was simply trampling on her professional field. Chen Guang was the only one who did this. If it was someone else, Jin Shiyue would have already looked down on him with her character and blacklisted him in her heart. This person wasn't reliable, and it's best if they don't interact with him in the future. At this moment, Jin Shiyue was worried for Chen Guang. She first shook her head, then worried for him. On one hand, she didn't want to see his money go down the drain. On the other hand, she was worried that he would embarrass himself on stage. From the first time they met, when Chen Guang took the life-saving reward, Jin Shiyue realized that he was a person who would rather suffer than lose face. Jin Shiyue didn't want to see him be unhappy because he lost face on stage. "Sigh, I was thinking that if the two of you joined in, the drama would be more popular," Chen Guang said with a regretful tone. Jin Shiyue was slightly moved. She thought that if she could watch over him the whole time, no matter how bad his acting skills were, she might be able to help him. However, on the other side, Jiang Yage desperately winked at her, telling her not to be silly. Jiang Yage pinched her fingers and began to calculate the time for Chen Guang. "You think it's easy? I only have 2 days off. I have to go to the set later. Most of Sister Shiyue's scenes have to be shot during this period. She has to go to the promotion of our new album. How would she have time to prepare for your drama? Even if it's the thunderstorm we acted in when we were learning to act, it's not something that can be done easily, okay? You don't need to revise the script or memorize the lines." Chen Guang nodded. "That's right. After all, you're not like me. I can't just go on stage and act." When he said this, he was really serious. It didn't seem like he was joking at all. Jiang Yage and Jin Shuiwei were completely speechless. My brother, where did you get this confidence from? The two of them felt very tired. They really sympathized with his employees in his company. Did this guy always do things like this in the past? How tired was that? Wait, it seemed like the two of them weren't any better. In the past, they thought that maybe he was just too busy and couldn't pay attention to acting. Now it seemed that this guy simply thought that he was a genius. He didn't need to learn to act and could do it easily. Although, from the beginning, when Jiang Yage appointed Qin Guang to act in the movie, she didn't have high hopes for him. At that time, she even thought that it would be better if he didn't act well. For example, kissing scenes and so on. How happy would that be? It didn't matter if the movie's box office and reputation were bad. Anyway, he had acted in many types of TV and movies. He just hadn't acted in a bad movie that purely relied on reputation. With his and Sister Shuiwei's box office appeal, they shouldn't lose too much. It wasn't like they couldn't afford to lose this bit of money. At that time, Qin Guang was just a rising internet celebrity. Jiang Yage felt that even if his acting skills weren't good, he could slowly grind out a good show, just like when he was filming Country. But now it seemed that his attitude was very problematic. She still hoped to slowly grind him. With the confidence he showed today, even if she said a few more words to him, he would probably explode. They weren't afraid that he didn't have acting skills. They were most afraid that he was clearly not a professional actor, but still thought that he was a movie king. The two of them wanted to persuade him again, but seeing that he had eaten a weight and was determined, they thought that it would be useless to say anything in a short period of time. Fine, they had to accept their fate. They would help him pray to the god of acting in their hearts. After the three of them chatted for more than half an hour, Qin Guang and Jin Shuiwei went out together. As the #1 investor of the movie and the male lead, he was finally willing to visit the set. Big Beard was so excited that he almost cried. I say, you're finally willing to come. I thought you became a missing person. Otherwise, I would have thought that you forgot about the movie. Uncle, look at what you're saying. I'm such a dedicated person, how could I forget? I was too busy previously, otherwise I would have come long ago. Big Beard Deng nodded repeatedly. I understand. Through some channels, whether overt or covert, Big Beard was not completely clear about Qin Guang's recent identity, but he had a feeling that he suddenly disappeared a few days ago. He looked for Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage to ask about his whereabouts, and even got a top-secret reply. Originally, he was worried that this young man, who he admired in the past, would change a little and become a little difficult to deal with now that his identity was not quite the same. Big Beard felt that his worry was not without reason. Fortunately, he met him today, and after a few words, he found that this young man was still so enthusiastic. Big Beard heard him call him uncle, and heard him call him uncle, which made his heart feel comfortable. Everyone had a little bit of vanity, and Big Beard Deng was no exception. In the past, when Qin Guang was just a poor boy, Big Beard felt very close to him when he was called uncle. Now that Qin Guang had become a big shot, and he still called him uncle, Big Beard felt honored and proud. He could also feel the respect that Qin Guang had for him. Just by calling him uncle, most of the long-accumulated grievances in Big Beard Deng's heart suddenly disappeared, and his breath became smooth. There were no scenes for Qin Guang today, and the flight back to Wujing that he booked was at night, so he followed the crew with great interest for the whole afternoon. Big Beard Deng was also happy to bring him along. While acting, he seized the opportunity to teach him. Yang Shi, who was listening, felt embarrassed for Big Beard. He really wanted to tell director Deng, please don't sell your melons. Whether it is in theory or in practice, the internet celebrity in front of you, the big investment boss, the versatile brother, Uncle Chin is the real ancestor-level best actor. I almost talked to you until my mouth is broken. Why don't you believe me even if I beat you to death? Also, Chen Guang was also a bad person. Even if he didn't shoot his scene today, he could have just casually given Director Deng a paragraph like last time. With Director Deng's vision, after seeing his ability to get into character in an instant and even bring others into his scene, it was absolutely impossible for him to have any doubts about his ability. If, in Director Deng's eyes, Chen Guang's commercial was not enough to prove his acting skills, then he would show you on the spot and bring you into his field. You should believe it, right? Yang Shi felt that he had to admit that there was such a crazy genius in this world, and that was Chen Guang. If there was anything he wouldn't do, it could only be because he was not interested in this matter. Unfortunately, until Chen Guang left, Yang Shi didn't wait for him to show his skills in front of Big Beard. Even if he had found a chance to whisper a few words to Chen Guang in private, it was useless. Chen Guang told him another piece of news, and Yang Shi understood his thoughts. First, this guy was going to act in a play. Second, it was next week. He didn't reveal his skills now so that when he acted in a play, the feeling of contrast between before and after would be stronger, so that his play would have a stronger impact in an instant. Yang Shi couldn't help but be impressed. No wonder Chen Guang could succeed at such a young age. In addition to his real ability, he was really good at the details and scheming when it came to running a project. Wait, didn't Big Beard ask me to follow him all day? How could there be no director in a play? Opportunity. When Chen Guang left, Yang Shi decisively ran to Big Beard and volunteered to go to Wujing. Big Beard didn't understand. Didn't you think it was meaningless in the past? Yang Shi chuckled as he continued, Director Deng, I've already deeply understood my mistake. I guarantee that I'll definitely make Chen Guang into an Oscar winner before next month. I can make a military pledge. If I can't do it, I will cut my head off. Big Beard Deng gave him a kick. When did you learn to be so glib with Chen Guang? Get lost. What are you doing? I'm asking you to go to Wujing with him. Thus, Chen Guang, the first main creative member of the play Thunderstorm, and also the director, left Big Beard Deng's set and came to Wujing. Chapter 939. Chen Guang trusted Yang Shi's ability. Since he was interested, he would leave it to him. When the two of them got off the plane in Wujing, it was already past 9 p.m. Chen Guang directly threw Yang Shi to Tianguang Agency and took a taxi back to the neighborhood outside the school. The poor Tianguang Agency's 4 great King Kongs. In the afternoon, Chen Guang gave them a phone call and threw them an unimaginable idea. Just like that, they could become his shopkeepers. He was quite comfortable. It was just a matter of a few words and a phone call. However, Yu Hong, Fang Tianyu, Su Li, and Lu Xiaoyang had no choice but to accept the cruel reality that their short vacation was completely ruined. Whether it was holding a competition or other activities, the entire project's establishment, planning, implementation, copyright operations, ticketing management, venue rentals, and clothing during the live performances, etc. It was simply a basket of troubles, not to mention that the time this time was so short. This master had always been in charge of killing and not burying. The few of them had a meeting in the company while making phone calls everywhere to find people. It was a headache. Fortunately, he was going to act in a traditional drama, Thunderstorm. This saved them the trouble of writing a script and training new actors. After all, this drama was reserved for domestic performing arts students. However, the time he gave them was too short. He even asked for experienced actors to act for him. Wasn't this torture? It was not easy to gather all the main cast members in a short period of time. Lu Xiaoyang used the connections he had accumulated over the years as a paparazzi and managed to find a few actors. However, the biggest problem was that he still had not found a director. Although he knew that CEO Chen's acting skills were a little crazy and that when he was good, he could easily shoot 12 sets of commercials a day. However, suddenly going on stage to act in a drama was like suddenly going from the County School League to the English Premier League. It was a little unrealistic. Therefore, they had to find a good director. Although it was not a famous director, they couldn't just randomly find a directing student from the school to make up the numbers, right? At the very least, they had to find an experienced veteran, right? Otherwise, how could they keep him under control? Everyone understood the reason, but time was too tight. Many people immediately backed out when they heard that they had to go on stage next week at the latest, but they hadn't even settled on the actors yet. They didn't even discuss the price. Secondly, even if they managed to convince him, the moment they heard that Chen Guang wanted to play the male lead, they would immediately fall through and refuse to do it even if they were offered more money. Those who spoke harshly were already swearing, and those who had a little bit of self-restraint were all kinds of sudden scapulohumeral periarthritis, gingivitis, and tenosynovitis. Thirdly, there were some people who were willing to come, but they were all unorthodox directors who specialized in online popular supernatural films. They did not have the slightest bit of ability and only wanted to come here to pass the time and become familiar with CEO Chen. With President Chen's temperament, this kind of person would definitely be kicked away by him, and the few of them would also be labeled as incompetent. How could a good play not have a director? Since Thunderstorm was first put on the stage more than 80 years ago, it had been performed thousands of times on different stages, on TV or the big screen by different actors. There were countless different versions, some classic and some rubbish. Every play of Thunderstorm, produced by a different director, would more or less have the director's personal characteristics. Whether it was a play or a TV movie, the screenwriter was the skeleton of the work, the actors were the face and flesh of the work, and the director was the soul of the entire work. Even twins who looked exactly the same would show completely different personalities because of the different souls living in their bodies, let alone Thunderstorm, which was extremely rich in content. This was a very deep, critical, and meaningful play. Every director would teach the actors according to their own artistic creation, and by paying attention to the details bit by bit, they would work hard to let the emotions of the main cast and the audience burst forth in the theater. In this process of paying attention to the details, the director would put his own personal brand on the stage play. A good director's play would be a classic, while a rookie director's play would make the entire theater audience suffer from embarrassment. In the past, no matter how unreliable the things that President Chen had done seemed at the beginning, the final result had never disappointed anyone. Obviously, his goal this time was the same. He only wanted classics, not rubbish. Therefore, it was difficult to find a director, and it made people worry so much. It was past 10:00 at night, and Lu Xiaoyang was still flipping through his little notebook, hesitating. He had basically contacted all the slightly reliable play directors in the country, but basically all of them turned down. Now, he was conflicted about whether he should use the hot news from Zhuo Wei's 8-weekly H drive to force him to give in. This thing was a big killer. Once he took it out, he might be able to achieve his goal in a short time, but it would definitely make people feel uncomfortable, and he would become enemies. After all, he was a person of virtue and prestige, and he might not even know that the hot news was stored in the H drive. Xiao Lu, why don't you call this person? Desperate times call desperate measures, and we have no other choice. Fang Tianyu took a deep puff of his cigarette and extinguished it in the ashtray. Yu Hong, who was wearing a gas mask, said in a muffled voice. But when he rejected us just now, he was very polite. Aren't we being too unkind? Su also shook his head with his mask on. He could not stand the smell of Fong Tianyu's cigarette, but everyone was very depressed, and they could not stop him from smoking. Lu Xiaoyang slammed the table heavily. Let's do it. President Chen once said that those who achieve great things should not bother about trifles. We will just raise the salary later. The other three people looked at him and gave him a thumbs up. Yu Hong said, Xiao Lu is very courageous. Su Li nodded. As expected of someone from 8 Weekly. Fong Tianyu said, I admire your shamelessness. Under the reverent gazes of the three, Lu Xiaoyang dialed the number. Hello, Director Pan, are you asleep already? I am Tingguang's agent, Fong Tianyu, who called you just now. F***CK. The next second, Fong Tianyu jumped up and sat on Lu Xiaoyang's waist. He snatched the phone from Lu Xiaoyang's hand and hung up. Yu Hong said, despicable. Su Li said, shameless. Fong Tianyu said, you are a true disciple of President Qin. Alright, this matter was put on hold again. Director Pan had made a mistake in the past, and it had been a few years since then. Fong Tianyu could not bear to drag Director Pan down with him. Just then, there was a knock on the office door. A company clerk who was working overtime poked her head in from outside. There's a director named Yang Shi outside. He said that President Chen asked him to come. The eyes of the four of them lit up in a flash. The poor clerk thought that he had caught the attention of 4 higher-ups at the same time, and he was panicking. I can't handle 4 people at once. Lu Xiaoyang slammed the table and stood up. Hurry up and invite Director Yang in. Fong Tianyu let out a long sigh. As expected of President Qin. It seems like he had already selected a director in advance. This is called planning strategies in a tent, and victory will be decided from 1,000 miles away. Su Li rolled his eyes. President Chen is not here. He can't hear your bootlicking. Fong Tianyu took out his phone. I recorded it. The other 3 people looked at him coldly. Despicable. Lu Xiaoyang said, even more despicable than me. Anyway, the director's matter was settled. Brother Yang Shi had walked right into the trap and saved the 4 great directors of Tingguang Agency. As for Chen Guang, he was sitting on the sofa nervously with his hands on his knees. He looked at the 2 little girls who were on the verge of tears and had a slight headache. Actually, he should have gone straight to Guangding headquarters to tell the 2 of them that he had resigned. But it was a little late when he got off the plane, so he did not go. On the other hand, since he had already resigned, he had to be thorough. He did not want others to say that he was lying behind his back. He had already resigned, but he was still thinking about it and it would be a joke. He did not expect that the 2 of them had already seen through his thoughts and were already waiting for him at home. Are you giving up on us? You're so heartless. My ass is growing. How could you just leave like that? You're leaving so pitifully. From now on, my little sweetheart and I will be alone in the headquarters. We'll be bullied by those cruel and evil martial artists and have to rely on them to survive. Chen Guang, do you have the heart to leave me and little Miao Miao in the headquarters? You're the chief of the martial arts world now. How do you expect little Miao Miao and I to convince the masses? The 2 little girls were talking one after another. Chen Guang looked at them and felt a headache coming on. It was especially so for Xian Qin. Honestly speaking, Chen Guang even felt that he was hallucinating. Did nothing happen between the 2 of them? Why didn't this last change much from before? No, she was a little different. Actually, the 2 of them were pretending to be in high spirits. It seemed like they were purposely trying to cheer him up. It was no wonder. Their master had passed away not long ago and it was only the 7th day. The grand funeral was still in preparation. How could they be in such high spirits? Although he had told them that their master was not completely dead and they believed him, there was no way to prove it in such a short amount of time. Moreover, the two seniors had really died physically. It was really hard on them now. Perhaps they felt disappointed that they were stripped of their position as the chief bureau after returning from Beijing, so they purposely joked around to cheer him up. This must be the rotten idea of Wu Miaowan, who had even more crooked ways. Patting on Xian Qin's head, Chen Guang continued, all right. You guys can stop trying to cheer yourselves up. I'm feeling tired for you guys. Sure enough, as soon as he finished speaking, the two of them instantly slumped down and sat on either side of him dejectedly with their heads drooping. Senior Xian and Senior Wu's funeral is the day after tomorrow, right? Chen Guang asked. Yes. Will you be there then? Xian Qin asked. Almost all the sects in the bureau will send representatives. Actually, we know that with the reputation of the Thousand Despair sect and Thousand Flower Valley in the pugilistic world, those big sects won't pay much attention to the death of their sect leaders. It's all because of you. But you. Chen Guang interrupted her. Of course I'll be there. Although I'm no longer the bureau chief, it doesn't affect my relationship with you. It's only right that they give you face for my sake. Wu Miaowan asked, after you resigned today, there was news from Beijing that Xue Lin was not appointed as the bureau chief. He's still the team leader of the special operations team. The bureau will not have a chief position in the future. The two deputy bureau chiefs will temporarily take over the bureau chief's affairs. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.